What's up, Chumbags? Welcome to the HQ. My name is Kandula, and today I'm joined by Nick Sivak for another episode of the Respawn Station podcast. This is, now we're just used to it, and this 51 episodes. I mean, look, who's counting, really? This episode, speaking of who's counting, this episode, we're going to talk about Call of Duty, because who's counting how many of those there are? We are about to be later in the show, where we're going to rank all the mainline Call of Duty games. That's right. There's going to be an entire just special episode dedicated to the Black Ops Declassified on the PlayStation Vita. Just an in-depth review that's coming anytime now. Just stay subscribed, and it'll be here. But of course, before we get to the main topic, we got to talk about news. And before we talk about news, we've got to ask ourselves a very important question. So, Nick, even though I know the answer, because half of that answer is we share, what have you been playing, my friend?
So, the two main things that I've been playing this week were the two main things I was playing last week, and that's Mario Kart World and Elden Ring Night Rain. As you mentioned, we'll talk about Elden Ring a little bit in a few minutes, but Mario Kart, I did get more hands-on time, more than the 2 hours that I talked about last time.
Yep.
I don't know how many hours I've put into it now, but I've finished all of the main Grand Prix cups in 100cc, and I've done about half of the Knockout Tour cups, which are like different cups, essentially, because there's different routes throughout the map. And I've done a little bit of exploring in the open world, which was what I was doing while I was editing last week's episode, actually. So, so I have a couple different things to talk about. I'll start with the Grand Prix and just kind of give general thoughts, because that's like, that's your baseline Mario Kart, right?
Yep.
I had a fun time with it. The biggest thing that I noticed as a difference between something like Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart World is the scale. And I kind of touched on this last week, where it's like things in the environment are a lot bigger. But also the tracks themselves are a lot wider to kind of account for the increased cars. But I think it's a bit of a weird design choice, because like even with the increased cars that can be in a race, the tracks just feel like way wider like than they needed to be.
Sure.
So it lends itself to it feeling like this really big world for you, but at the same time, it also kind of has this weird effect where it's like you feel very tiny when you're racing in the world, if that makes sense.
Sure.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. It was just kind of like a weird kind of design wrinkle that I noticed. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of how the tracks are designed, because I didn't really have a great grasp of this last week whenever I was talking about it. But having gone through all of the tracks are designed very similarly to Mario Kart Tour tracks, which was the mobile game, which then a lot of those tracks got kind of remade and ported into Mario Kart 8 during its like DLC expansions that came out. And those tracks kind of play differently to the standard Mario Kart track, where you'll be, say, like Rainbow Road or whatever, or Rainbow Road's probably a bad example, but like Mario Kart Circuit or something. It's a standard racetrack. You go through it 3 laps. That's your race, right? A lot of these tracks are kind of designed where the first track is completely different from the first lap, is different from the second lap, which is different from the third lap. And they kind of like intertwine and like go back on each other and explore different routes. And it's kind of cool. And it makes it feel like the levels are a lot more expansive than you would think, like at just a first glance. But at the same time, just going through it cold, it kind of feels like the races, you're more like adapting on the fly constantly than you are like learning a route through the track and like, subtly like improving on it within the laps themselves. I guess you kind of like, if you're replaying a track, like you'll start to learn those things and understand the flow of like how lap 1 feeds into lap 2, where the shortcuts and everything are. But it just kind of felt like different, not necessarily better and not necessarily worse, but just like a different style of game that they kind of, or like different style of level design that they were implementing here. you kind of start to feel that a little bit more with Knockout Tour, which in case for whatever reason people don't know, basically it's 6 different tracks stitched together from one side of the map to the other. And so you start on this one track, you go through racing like essentially one lap, and then you're just like off on the roads to the next track, to the next track, to the next track. And each time you hit like a new checkpoint or like a new track, there's a cutoff for the amount of players, and anybody that doesn't make it into that cutoff gets eliminated and the race ends. Kind of like a battle royale race, essentially.
Right. Yeah. There's a jackpot word.
Yeah. It does have that annoying battle royale thing where you can be doing perfectly fine for the entire game and make one mistake at the end and completely blow the run.
Gone.
That's happened to me 2 or 3 times now, and it's just like, man, that's really not fun when you're just super locked in, like playing like crazy, and then right at the end, just somebody blue shells you and then passes you right at the finish line. So, while I find parts of it a little bit annoying, it's a fun additional mode to have to just kind of shake it up if you're just not interested in doing like the standard races. And then on top of that, there's the open world stuff. This is an area that I have the least amount of experience with. I played for like an hour and a half or so in the open world, and it's fun. You basically, one really cool thing that I like about it is you access the open world from the main menu, as you would expect, but like the main menu has footage of like racers going through a track or whatever, and whenever you hit like go to free roam, it just zooms into the menu, and that's where it puts you. Like it's a really kind of cool just like technical flex where it's just like, oh yeah, you were already in open world, and like we're just gonna zoom you in. So that's kind of cool. And you get a lot of the extra songs from the soundtrack, because like I mentioned last week, there's like 200 something recordings of music in this game. And obviously different tracks have their own track themes. So like if you're playing Grand Prix, you're not necessarily going to get like the Rainbow Road theme on Not Rainbow Road, right?
Right.
In open world, it's just constantly cycling through different tracks while you're, doing little events or just kind of driving around in the levels themselves, which is nice because it exposes you to a lot of that really awesome soundtrack. So far, there's P-switches that you can find that give you like a challenge to complete. So basically you drive into it, and one of them that I did was like collect blue coins while this, chain chomps are trying to, mess you up, or grind this wire and make a tricky jump to get up to like a goalpost or something. The difficulty kind of spans from like pretty easy to some that are like, you need to know how the mechanics of this game work. Like there's this one that was like up front, it was saying like, a tricky test of patience or something like that. And you have to go off of a speed boost and a ramp. And then you have to like wall ride and chain these wall ride jumps to hit like another floating goal thing. So I wasn't even able to complete that. I was just like, okay, like this is a little bit too technical for what I have the skill level for currently. But there's those kind of challenges, which I would say is like the main reason to play the open world, unless you're just looking for like a casual kind of, I'm just going to drive around and, take pictures of things. Sure. You can do that as well. There's also these hidden peach
photo mode confirmed?
Yeah, there is a photo mode.
Oh, okay. Maybe I
There's
will get a Switch too.
just for photo mode, nothing else. There's also there's like these question mark tiles that you can find that are like in like hidden, hard to reach spots. And there's also these peach coins that you can collect. I don't really know what those do outside of like, basically the main like unlockable you get outside of carts and different characters and stuff are these stickers that you can put like on your profile. And it seems
I
like
thought you meant like on your carts.
No, it's just like where your name is. Like it'll have like a sticker icon. And there's tons of those. They're nice, but it's like it doesn't really feel like that huge of a incentive to like,
accomplishment.
completely get invested in this. So I think the open world, again, kind of like Knockout Tour, like it's a nice addition to have if you just want to change the pace up of the game and not necessarily just do like, race after race after race. So like I think it's a nice addition. I also just think it's the way I kind of described it to somebody earlier this week was it's like a mile wide and an inch deep. Like there's a lot to do there, but like I'm already feeling like I don't really want to invest a ton of time in this because it's just like, oh, like even in my hour and a half of doing it, I did like 4 different collect the blue coins challenges. So it's just like, okay, this is like what this is.
Okay, well, I mean, hey, speaking of putting a lot of time, there was no transition. You didn't say speaking of putting a lot of time. There was a transition point earlier. But how about that ring?
Yeah.
The really old ring where it's constantly raining
at night
without the sun. Without the sun. So Nick and I have also been playing. Well, not also. I haven't been playing Mario Kart. I did play Mario Kart 64. I did finish. Okay, for those of you curious, I have now finished a Mario Kart game. As much as I suppose one can. And other than that, we've been playing Elden Ring Night Rain a little bit more. I've crossed the 32-hour mark, I think.
I've passed the 40-hour mark, I think. So.
Oh, okay. See, that's the difference because I have at this point beaten 4 bosses. I got the main one, the Tricephalops or whatever, Gaping Jaw, the Augur, and Sentient Pest. So all done. Now I got 4 more left, including the big boy Night Lord himself, which Nick and I also did attempt one run at, which was crazy. But Nick, yeah, you've obviously you're down to 1 left total. So,
earlier today,
how you feeling about
finished the Dark Drift Knight and the Equilibrious Beast one, which was a pain in the ass. That one by far has taken me the most attempts to get through, but finally,
it's not
finally fun. It's done. But yeah, just down to 1 dragon. I think Elden Ring Night Rain. My thoughts are coming into focus fully on it at this point, with only 1 boss left to go, and it's similar to what I've talked about in the last couple podcasts, but I like the game. I'm having fun with the game. It is a very much just kind of combat focused FromSoft game, and kind of like how we were talking about before. It's like if somebody was like, you know what, I want to get into FromSoft games. Should I try Night Rain? I probably would not say play Night Rain. Like it's not at all what people are talking about when they're talking about a From Software game. What
makes them special.
Yeah. It still has some of that wow factor that those games are known for, specifically with the Night Lord bosses at the end of the runs. That's where I think you get a lot of that spectacle and a lot of that, like, From Software feeling from the game. And there are some surprising elements here and there, like the level designs, specifically with some of the shifting world events that I think get a little bit cool. But by and large, it's kind of like, I've not played Armored Core 6 yet, but I feel like I would feel the same way, where it's like, oh, I want to get into From Software. Should I play Armored Core? It's like, probably not. That's not what, that's not the type of game that I think you're imagining when you go into a game, like a developer's body of work like this.
Sure. Right.
At the end, after the 40-hour mark, and me, getting close to the end, I do think that the game is starting to get like a little bit repetitive, in that we've kind of figured out roughly the flow of a match, where it's like, go to the churches, go to these, kind of small dungeons in the first night, maybe 1 extra boss in the first night. Second night, you're going through doing extra boss fights, doing the harder camps, and then, buy your stuff for the 3rd night. So it's like, I don't want to say it's like formulaic, because it isn't, because it does still kind of change things up, but like I feel like I'm going through the motions now in the later half of this game now.
Yeah, that's very, so my observation as I tend to make those as a game critic. Excuse me. Uh, is that I feel like it's sort of working in converse. Is that like or they're an inverse? I'll say, which is how do I phrase this? There's an inverse factor to Elden Ring Night Rain and enjoying the game. And what I mean by that is that I find that at the start, I'm 30 hours into the game. I'd probably say 15 hours of that was with a little bit more, maybe 15 to 20 hours is with, Nick or Alexa or Austin. And then the other time was mainly with just randoms queuing up for whatever. And most of those 10 hours with randoms has been in the last few days. And so I started off, and I think it's actually the initial experience with the game when you're first jumping in with a friend is a lot of fun, and or it's like a lot more like dynamic. But in the late game, I think it's better to play with randoms. The reason why I say this, and it's sort of what Nick was saying about the game does in fact feel stale. Like like it does have when you're inherently, that's what I find with most roguelikes, and that's why I have a bad track record with roguelikes. I just don't often get through them. But it can get repetitive because once you understand the formula, you just start, okay, you know what to do. You're kind of almost like auto functioning through it a little bit. But when you're playing with friends at the start and you have no idea what to expect, it is a lot of like, hey, do you see this? Yeah, what's that over there? And then like you're kind of like trying to figure something out. So I think that's very interesting. But then because again, when you get comfortable, when you can talk to the people you're playing with, it's just like, all right, dude, let's go to here and then let's go pick this up and then go here. But when I'm playing with randoms the last 2-3 days, I've been playing with randoms, and it's been like every match has been like a totally different, like what the hell is going to happen this time. So it's more fun because with randoms, one run. I was just telling Nick about this, right? So the game I played earlier, which by the way, while I was waiting for the boss to load, I drew a little gaping. Oh, there it is.
Oh, nice.
A little gaping action. While I was waiting for a match to be found. Yeah, I found 2 matches today, but one of them was we didn't even attack the opening camp. We just started like just booking it. And I'm kind of I was with 2 executor classes or whatever, and we were just running around, and somehow we made it to almost level 14. I was like 10 runes away from level 14 by the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the knight? And oh my god, that goddamn knight. It is brutal, that centaur. But so that was really interesting, and like I hadn't done that yet. Every time I've dropped in prior to that, I've killed the camp that's right in front of us. And then like yesterday, I was playing with someone else, and I did 2 matches yesterday and 2 matches today. Yesterday, I did the first match, we beat the sentient pest, so that was good. The second match, we went into the underground volcano areas, and this person I was following, who's on my team, this random guy, was just he or she or they knew the freaking path to get to the bottom, and so it was my first time getting to the bottom and getting that legendary weapon. So I still got that trophy too. I got a trophy for making it to the bottom of the magma, and I think that's I kind of glanced through at the trophies because now I have like 17 of them, and I think obviously there's one for beating each of the night lords, but then there's the other ones are for surviving the raids of each of the bosses. And by the way, I had the match I was playing earlier today. It was a raid with the Equilibrious Beast. I was like, nope, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with this. It was day 1, 2. We were like level 2, and I was like, how is this appropriate? And then the other one is for each of the kind of world events is to finish whatever is at the heart of that world event. So
Mm-hmm.
you get one for getting to the bottom of the volcano. You get one for the top of the mountain, which Nick and I did, and to our surprise, there's like a little thing waiting for you up there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think you have 2 more than me now that we have to team up so I can get those off of you.
Yeah, I attempted one of them today, which is actually probably the coolest one.
The
pops.
Shrouded City. I saw that
Yeah,
one.
it's like a city that pops up. So it's a very different environment for anything else in the
Interesting.
game. We didn't get to like wherever the secret is or whatever, but we did get to run around the streets and sewers and stuff. And
Oh, damn.
there was actually a really unfortunate part where we were running from the wall, and I just followed my teammate off of a blind jump, and there's a bottomless pit that's a death trap. So we both lost a
Wow.
level right there because it was just like,
Damn.
oh, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't think that those existed. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's that, and then there's the Scarlet Woods, which are like it's
Okay.
if you've ever heard memes about FromSoft games having poison swamps, it's essentially a poison swamp for this game.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
it definitely is a bit tricky because just being there builds up the Scarlet Rot, which is like advanced poison, essentially. And
Yeah.
both times that I played with the world event on, our final boss ring was inside the woods. So you have to do the boss while also just being poisoned the entire
That
time.
sucks.
So yeah, it's definitely a FromSoft moment there. But yeah, like
Huh.
it's repetitive, it has issues, it's a weird experimental game. All that said, like I'm still having fun with it though. That's the thing. It's like I still boot it up and I'm just like, okay, like I'm ready to, try to
It's oddly
beat
become
this
my
last
podcast
boss.
game. Like I just kind of like
Mhm.
like I don't think audio is fully important until like for me at least until the boss stuff
Yeah.
happens. So I don't even use the audio. Like I mute it until that stuff happens and I unmute it. But yeah, I listen
Mhm.
to podcasts. Um, Found a really great podcast. So shout out the Perfect Console with Simon Parkin, and it's like essentially really interesting kind of game developer interviews and stuff.
Nice.
Which was interesting to. Yeah, that was my drive to and from work today. So there you go. Maybe that'll be yours after, of course, you finish this episode of the Respawn Station podcast.
Mhm.
Also, along with Elden Ring Night Rain, and I'm pretty sure I beat Mario Kart 64. I did the main cups like the day after last episode.
Mhm.
So I needed something else to keep me busy when I was, kind of just relaxing and trying to not think about Night Rain and how maddening sometimes it can be. And it was this, I don't even know why I had it, but so look, I went to my Steam library. I was on my Steam Deck and I was just kind of scrolling through, seeing what I wanted to install. And I didn't even know I had the game, but I had Flash Out 3D. Now, I just went to Steam so I could grab kind of information about the game because I really don't know much about it. And it turns out that it's a free game. So, like, you can just go to Steam right now, search Flash Out 3 Enhanced Edition, and pick it up, download it, and play it for yourself. But the description says the classic racer Flash Out 3D, initially released more than 10 years ago, as of 2022 is when this game came out, is back to celebrate the upcoming launch of Flash Out 3. But we bring you not only the first installment of the series for free, but we also remastered it and enhanced it with updated graphics and new features. Check out the details in the description, and don't forget to wishlist. Sure, you can also wishlist if you'd like. But yeah, it comes with improved ship physics, gamepad support, vibration support, improved controls, remastered intro, additional animations, improved visual effects, new user interface during races, and more. And look, I knew none of those enhancements. I just booted up the game and started playing and had a really good time with it. So it's like a high speed racer essentially, and there's actually I think it's called Fast Fusion or something that's a Switch 2 release title that is very much so in this vein. But you have this futuristic spaceship, and it just tears through the tracks, and all the tracks are like this sci-fi themed with like it's like New York or Beijing, but it's like futuristic versions of it or whatever,
Mhm.
and there's something about this game where it doesn't look, it's not like the highest res details, especially because again, I'm playing on the Steam Deck. But that doesn't really matter because when you're moving at such high speeds, you really can only focus. Like everything else, sort of just becomes a peripheral. And it's really you're focusing on the center of the screen and what's directly ahead of you, because And I hadn't played games like this before, so if it sounds a little like, "Oh, you're dude, duh," like that's part of the feature, then I don't know, but I'll explain it. So I sort of almost view it like a musical like rhythm game, not around like a musical game, like such as like a rock band or something. But you're not going to the beats of anything. It's just that on the track, so on the track there's stuff in your path. So there's sometimes speed bars where every time you hit it, it gives you a boost. And then there's also like coins that you can pick up for money that you can use to upgrade your ship, as well as like abilities. So like you can heal up your ship from damage, or get a speed boost, or get autopilot, or weapons like rockets or a machine gun to fire at other racers. But all that to say, the kind of speed boost you have, you're racing down the track, and so you really have to make sure you're moving to the right side of the track and kind of following the motions of where it's going. There's also every track has one or two locations where it has these barriers, and if you have a weapon, you can shoot the barriers down and then take an alternate route that kind of saves you some time. And
That's fun.
I found this really interesting, especially compared to Mario when I was coming off the heels of Mario Kart 64, because I mean, look, Nick is playing Mario Kart World, and he's also experiencing the similar thing of in Mario Kart when you get screwed over, it is game over. Like you might as well put the track like the gamepad down because it's just like, all right, yeah, there's no way I'm recovering. Even if you're number one, you get hit with one, goddamn shell, and you're back in like fifth or sixth place, and you're like, all right, well, this is my fate. Peach is definitely going to win this race again. But for this game, there's been times where, it'll be like five laps and we're on lap five or lap four, and my ship gets destroyed. And the one negative, like, well, one thing where the game really is like, all right, you got to get going, is that when your ship explodes, which either happens because your health goes all the way down because you crash your ship, or enemy shot at it or something like that. The respawn time, like it puts your ship back into the onto the track, and then it waits. So it's like, think about your actions next time, and then it lets you go. So it's like it's such a long time. So like racers will just pass you. But even when that happens at late game, I don't feel like obviously it's intense because you're like, all right, I need to win, but it's not hopeless. Like there's always like a chance that you can get the right amount of speed boost. Like if you nail all of them, and when you're doing that, and also like there's part of the kind of the risk is that there's mines placed throughout the track. So you could be like, if you're trying to be like autopilot, just collect everything you see, you might run into mines that blow you up and stuff like that. So you have to avoid those actively while playing. And there are times where it almost becomes like you're in a trance with this game because you're just like moving with the track, trying your best not to crash into anything, kind of flowing with it. And you'll take a turn and there's a mine, like you're just dodge a mine, your health is really low, you're waiting for that. Like it's this nice kind of like risk reward, like intense ride. That's fun in short bursts. I think like if it has like I want to say like 8 different cups, and each one is like 3 to 5 races. I think the last one's a little bit longer, but I usually play through like a cup at a sitting, and I think that was a good pace for like where it was fun. I was into it, and then I stepped away, and when I came back, I was kind of all right. I'm ready. If I played for like really long, it would be like, okay, I need to stop looking at this because it's just like I'm too zoned in on it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing. I've also touched. I recommend it, by the way, just to kind of put that out there. I do recommend it. It is free, as I've discovered. So just there's no real, uh, you know, hindrance. And if you want to go for that 100% on Steam, if you're an achievement hunter, it's very easy. I have 11 of the 13, I think, achievements, and the last two I could probably go back and get fairly easily if I wanted to.
Mhm.
So there you go. And I've also been playing a little bit of this game called Rooftops and Alleyways, or sorry, Alleys. Have you heard about this game, Nick? It kind of went viral a little bit ago,
The
but
name sounds familiar, but I don't recall.
it's imagine Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but for parkour. That
Ah.
is that is the game. And so first of all, they were nice enough to send over a review code. I'm playing on the PlayStation 5. And so this game just came out 2 to 3 days ago, as of when we're recording this. And so I'm really just dip my toes in a little bit, and it's interesting. I've only gotten the chance to play solo, and I definitely think this is a game that would be more fun when you're with people. It definitely has a learning curve of like figuring out what the buttons are because you can as you're running, you'll press like square, and then it like does like a certain move, and if you don't like hit the right kind of success, like I think I can't remember all the controls off the top of my head. I think like triangle is like a jump, but then you have to hit triangle again to land the jump. So there's like stuff like that where in order to when certain things happen, which as of right now I don't feel like in control of the cool things, but when they
Mhm.
happen, you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. But it takes a lot more. It's like imagine like an Assassin's Creed, but you have to think about how to do everything. It's not the game's not just doing it for you.
Right.
So yeah, that's
Is
very 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 early impressions.
is there like a point system in the game, or is it just like
Yes, yeah. So
okay?
there's points. Well, there's also like, um, actually, I don't know. I'll come back to you on the points, but essentially, as you're going around, there's different things like you can there's different maps, and you can go into the map, and you can just parkour for the hell of it. I think you can gain points just kind of for chaining things together.
Mhm.
Um, but there's also like time trials around the map, so you can go up to a certain point and it starts a time trial or like a point trial where you have to like within a region like do as many cool moves as possible. So that's
Gotcha.
kind of the idea, I think. Unless there's, I don't know if there's anything kind of else luring you into it. But again, I'll play more of it, and I'll get back to you, all you guys on that.
Alrighty, Sri. So I had an idea for a slightly different kind of segment that we can slot into this episode.
Yep.
You reached out to me somewhat recently after months of off the air discussions that we've had about game
Yes.
making aspirations. And you said that we were reached out to and given a code for Action Game Maker, which seems to be this like 2D game making software, specifically
Yep.
tuned for action games. So like you've heard of like RPG Maker. This is like more of an action game kind of focus from the outside looking in. And
Yep.
you asked if I was interested, and I was like, you know what? Sure, let's give it a try. And I was sitting here the last week. I haven't booted it up yet, full transparency. But I was sitting here and I was like, what kind of game would I want to try to make for something that we could like talk on the podcast and stuff? And I was like, well, if it's going to be something that we're going to be talking about on the podcast, why don't we just try to workshop a game on the podcast? So I figured that we could just try to do some like broad strokes brainstorming, I guess, and whether or not this is how it ends up working, if we have a final game at the end of this or something, I don't know, but
Yeah.
at least get some ideas on the floor. So I think specifically, well, I guess we should nail down a genre first.
Yeah.
If it's 2D action games, my mind goes to three different places off the bat. It would be like
Right.
a melee focused action game, a 2D shooter, like a run and gun style, or just like a straight up platformer. Do you think,
Yeah.
do you have any burning desires for any of those that you'd like to see?
Hmm.
Because I know I personally
I'm
have
trying to
some
think of.
ideas for like a shooter that I'd like to do maybe in the future, and so like that might like work up some foundational ground, but at the same time, like I have ideas for a bunch of different things. So
Yeah. So truth be told, I don't know much about Action Game Maker. So I'm gonna actually to start the discussion off, go right to the Steam page and give you guys a little bit of what they're saying to kind of I think maybe give us an idea, right, of how
sure.
this works. So they say the latest in the long-running Maker series of game development toolkits, Action Game Maker brings 2D action game development to all those of all skill levels, our being none.
That's good.
Uh, so this is built using Godot engine, and it provides access to professional level functions without any programming required. This game it uses node-based visual scripting, which essentially means like there's a visual representation of like, oh, jump is this node, walk is this node, and then you can kind of place things like that and connect them by literally just drawing lines between them to connect them. So it's no knowledge of program is needed. Simply connect up actions similar to RPG Maker's event commands, which I am familiar with since I have used a lot of RPG Maker, and see the unique logic of your game come together. So when you're making a game, you can either make a side scroller or a top down game. And the top down game, they kind of sort of has that like Binding of Isaac point of view. I guess maybe
Okay.
like a Legend of Zelda point of view as well. You could think of that way.
Hmm.
And so you choose what kind of games to make, from platformers and Metroidvanias to horror, adventure, shooting, puzzles, and more. That's a lot of options in there.
Yeah.
Um, so they say take advantage of the excellent 2D functionality. By the way, we're not going to yet verify this is exactly what they're saying on the page. We'll come back. Nick is going to come back after he does his thing, and we'll talk about if it's actually excellent 2D functionality. But it's UI design based on the existing Godot UI. It supports for GD script, a complete 2D pipeline, a map editor with auto tile function. Supports both sprite and 2D bone animation systems. I guess should you choose. And yeah, everything you need to build a game is included, from character art to tiles, music, and sound effects. Free yourself from worrying about assets and just get started. That's an interesting point. There is, I will say, kind of as an offshoot that usually, from my experience with the RPG Maker community, there is a general stink around just using generic the pre-built assets.
Hmm.
But like, who it's up to I was like, it doesn't really matter, if we're creating new assets, because this is not like
Right.
this bad boy isn't going up on Steam right now.
Right.
Um, yet,
This is going to be a
yes, we don't know
podcast
the capacity.
exclusive.
Yeah, we'll see how the potential of it is, and determine it from there. But yeah, so with that said, quite a bit more options than I actually initially thought. I thought it would just be 2D games, but
Hmm.
they say 2D platformers, Metroidvanias, horror, adventure, shooting, puzzles. All right, so go ahead. With that said, now I'm curious to hear your thoughts about what kind of thing tickles your brain. I knew you said shooting, but
Yeah, I run and gun style and platformers. I have two ideas, in my top secret notebook or whatever that have some thought put behind them. Obviously, both of those would not be fully realized in like just kind of this experiment kind of going, but
right,
I think that's probably that sort of perspective is where my mind is at right now, not necessarily the top down one. um
right.
I there's just something, we talk about it all the time, like something about shooters and me, it just kind of clicks. It's the right brain scratch for me. So
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
that's kind of where I'm leaning. Do you have any thoughts on the
See,
choice?
I think there's a very interesting. Okay, so obviously we're coming off of Elden Ring Night Rain,
Yeah.
and what I think is so interesting is when games can capture a vibe like Elden Ring or like a FromSoft game, because just Elden Ring aside, FromSoft in general has this vibe, this tone that they really have this great atmosphere from their games. And I found a few games in my time. I'm not saying that this is the goal that we're trying to set, but like what I find so interesting is when games that are so clearly indie or on a budget are able to create such a strong atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I think there was a game called Morbid, Seven Souls or Seven Acolytes. That game I remember playing that and feeling this like, oh, okay, they really got this. And again, visually, that game looks totally different. It's not a third person, open world action game or whatever, or action RPG. But yeah, the tone is huge. So I'd be curious what exactly you can make, because I think a 2D like Souls like would be so sick. You know what I mean? 2D
Hmm.
platformer, but you're going through like obviously that's not a new concept. I think that's pretty much what Castlevania is, if we're being honest.
Yeah, there's like a couple
um,
like what's that one? It was on my wish list for a long Salt and Sanctuary. I think that's like kind of
oh
a big
yeah,
2D
yeah.
Souls
No,
like
you're right.
kind of game.
Yeah,
But yeah, strong atmosphere. I think obviously it's going to be pixel art. I don't know if this
Yeah,
engine
yes.
really has the ability to go much beyond that. I think, you mentioned it's built off Godot, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's kind of the whole MO with that. We used to, in college, we had this creative exercise, if you remember, that basically produced a video that has had somewhat of an enduring legacy, called Manimal
Yes.
Williams. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. I want you to come up with the main character's name. It's going to be a named character. So what's the name going to be?
Okay. I'm fine with being put on the spot. Can I just get a time period, or is that not?
Okay. So if let's say it's going to be a 2D shooter. Let's nail that down. So 2D shooter.
Okay. Yep.
It's going
Yep.
to have strong atmosphere / tone. So what am I thinking right now? That's going to be strong atmosphere
Like, are you
and
thinking
tone.
like a Western, fantasy, sci-fi? Like, like what's the?
I mean, I really like Western and sci-fi, but I feel like I want to do something maybe not that.
Sure, a little bit of I get it. A change of pace. Fantasy's a very good thing to fall back on, but there's also different shades of fantasy.
Let's go with a. Ooh. See, now my mind just went to a concept that I know I'm not going to be able to execute on, but it made me think of that Adam Driver movie that came out last year or whatever, where it's like sci-fi, but he crash lands on prehistoric Earth, and so he has like a laser gun and he's shooting dinosaurs.
65?
Yeah, 65? Something like that. Yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
that's
wow.
some atmospheric dino hunting? Do you think that would be
wow? Cool? Okay. No. I see the 65 movie. I can't believe, first of all, that I got the name of that movie right. It is just a number. Yeah. So you're correct. It's like sci-fi and had with dinosaurs and Adam Driver. Did you watch this movie?
No, I only saw trailers for it. Okay. But again, for some reason, it was just like atmospheric dinosaur sci-fi. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Sure. Okay. So atmosphere, dinosaurs, sci-fi, or I guess sci-fi, because I was gonna say you could have it be just a guy from dinosaur time, a guy living in dinosaur, because humans and dinosaurs, they had to have lived together. Anyway, I digress from my scientific point. Dinosaurs are cool. All right, let's see his name.
Because I feel like the name is going to influence the design of the character.
I'm gonna say first. I'm gonna lock in a first name.
Okay.
Ronnie. It's spelled Ronnie, to be specific.
Okay.
Last name. Last name Driver.
Ronnie Driver. That honestly,
yeah,
that works. That's great. So yeah, we have an atmospheric,
Driver.
A tonally atmospheric 2D dinosaur shooter starring Ronnie Driver.
Ronnie Driver. Wow, what a phrase. I'm glad we're building out the sentence as in one go.
Yeah,
we're essentially building the elevator pitch.
Yeah, I think that's probably good to get like a very base level start on an idea. Who knows how long this will be. There's a lot we're going to be finding out about, and I think I've had fun at least chatting about it at the start here. So I think it might be fun to bring this back for the next couple weeks maybe, like maybe every other week, get some updates on how the 2D dinosaur hunting adventure of Ronnie Driver goes.
Yeah. I'm curious what the name of this ends up being. There's like the name's got to be. I mean,
we are very staunch critics of titles.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've created a name for ourselves for how we rate names. So yeah, it's There's got a lot. You got a big shoes to fill, Nick. They're your own shoes, but you got to fill them.
Dino Crisis is taken, so we can strike one thing off the list. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Check back in future episodes to see how our experience with Action Game Maker goes, and if we have anything of substance to actually showcase for this 2D game here. So
yeah, maybe we'll throw it up on itch.io. You know, it was crazy. I had a I guess one of the judges for the contest that I submitted for streamed their playthrough of the game. So it's weird being on this side because there's like a 45-minute video of this person playing Legends of the Highborn. And it really is like, I haven't watched the whole thing, but it's an interesting perspective of sitting there and being like, yeah, that joke you might not get. That joke you might not get. But they did. You know what, Nick? How does it feel for you? All right, I'll say this because I skipped around a little bit, and they specifically talked to your character. And so someone else was experiencing the Nick dialogue,
nice.
and referencing the Respawn Station intro in one go without having a single clue who Nick was or the Respawn Station podcast. But yeah,
honestly, that's how I like it.
You just exist in that world for a little while.
Yep. But with all that said, let's get back on track here with some news topics. Obviously, the deluge of announcements last week kind of means that it's a bit of a slower week as a follow-up, so there's not a whole lot to talk about, but there was some things that we definitely grabbed here. First of all, this one's probably just like a little softball one here. Sony kind of put out this like investor business facing kind of report that they do every year. And just in this last quarter, I believe, the PS5 now has more monthly users than PS4 for the first time since it launched. Which is kind of interesting. It's not like that crazy.
It's about time.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the vibe.
Like the system is so popular. That's the context, right? Is that the PS4 is such like second or third highest selling console of all time. So it sets a pace for why it took so long. But I mean, finally, the PS5, after being the current gen for 5 years, done it.
And the other kind of thing that I thought about when I saw this headline was like, so are we going to get to the point now where it's, because like we're still getting games like Tony Hawk and stuff that are being announced, and it's like, yep, PS4 and Xbox One versions. Like, do you think we're going to start?
Even Black Ops 7.
Black Ops 7 is still on PS4 and Xbox One?
Yep.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that. Yeah, like, do you think this is now going to be the point where we start leaving those consoles in the dust, or do you think that this is just this entire generation is going to carry through PS4 and Xbox One ports?
I think so, man. I have to imagine at some point, like I get when Call of Duty does it, because, I mean, look, the simple matter of the fact is that there's 100 million consoles, 100-some million consoles you're cutting out by not including the PS4, just the PS4, not the Xbox One. So I get that. And then for Call of Duty, with a system or a company that is working on such a scale, I'm sure it's some teams that are just dedicated to working on the port, It's not the main teams like, all right, this version is done, let's move on to the next. I actually just saw earlier today that pretty much Sledgehammer Games is working exclusively on multiplayer for Black Ops 7. Like, they're just working on the multiplayer. That is all they're touching. And so, like, yeah, like that kind of isolated kind of development process in that way is more understandable. But yeah, I have to imagine for games that are not that, still coming out is kind of crazy. I imagine for indie games, maybe again, it is like, oh, the larger audience, and stuff like that. But hopefully we see more just kind of PS5 games or Xbox Series X games that are allowed to just fully focus on the power of those consoles without having to say like, okay, well, what can we get away with to make sure we're still getting on the lower end consoles? Not that, those consoles are great, but it's been 10 years and there are incredible games on there. All right. There's definitely still games for you to play if you have one of those consoles still. It's just that for the people that have the other stuff, it's good to kind of show me the power before
Right.
I mean, just in the last, we didn't touch on it here, but like just in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten confirmation that Sony's working on the next PlayStation system, and I think just yesterday, Xbox confirmed that they're partnering with AMD on whatever their next console is as well, and that it's also officially confirmed that the next Xbox is being developed.
Which
So
is
yeah, another
crazy.
2 years.
This
Probably,
generation feels like it's just flown by, and like I even saw like
yeah,
comments
there's
where
a
people
combination of factors that definitely add to that, I think.
yeah, I was seeing some comments where people were like, where have the games been this generation? And it's like, obviously that's like a very like, comment section kind of opinion
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
state of mind to be in. But like, I mean, I think Sony partially in the cancellation of so many of their service games is definitely feeling a little light this generation.
It's the fact that it launched at a time when the world was all going into lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
resources were short, so they just didn't have PS5s to sell, and if they did, they couldn't restock them. That's one of the reasons why the Nintendo Switch 2 is selling so well, is because Nintendo is able to keep restocking them, and then they keep going off of stock. So like they clearly had a nice fat backlog of consoles just waiting for people to scoop them up.
Mm-hmm.
And then that plus the fact that, again, the last generation, they had to appease them for a while. And yeah, it's interesting that we're all almost at the end of this. And yeah, I mean, there's a few exclusives for sure, but not like full on, like even like God of War Ragnarok on PS5. It's also on PS4, so it's not really a console exclusive,
Right.
though I imagine it runs really better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of PlayStation, they are offering refunds for Mind's Eye currently, which
Yes.
historically Sony does not do that often. One of the most notable exceptions to that being Cyberpunk at launch on PlayStation 4. I mean,
Which can only mean that Mind's Eye has that much potential, the same amount of potential as Cyberpunk 2077.
that is certainly a read on the situation. Yeah, we've talked about Mind's Eye here and there a tiny bit, but never fully in depth. But honestly, like with how the lead up into launch was going in the general
I
sentiment,
was hoping for this game to. Oh man, I was hoping this game would succeed. So and I still think that there are parts of it, because I've seen a little bit of gameplay, and no, not just the viral clips of characters like ragdolling all over and crazy weird physics. I mean, like the city itself, I still think looks really cool. I think it makes an interesting playground, but there is definitely as purely an observer of this, right? I feel like there is this sense that there was something that was originally promised, because Mind's Eye was part of this crazy game. It was called Everything, I think, right? And like you could make your own kind of games with it. And Mind's Eye was just like one of the games that you could make in that potential. And then they were like, actually, this is the game. You're getting the whole thing here. And so I feel like there was a certain level of like obligation that went into just, I mean, like, all right, we signed a deal because we got, the big rock star guy. We got to make sure we're at least shipping something. I imagine it's very disheartening though to ship it and, just everyone just, it's one of those games that it became a very easy punching bag. So yeah, I have to imagine that sucks. And refunds is not a small thing for PlayStation to do. They're very stingent on that stuff. So
yeah,
it's a little damning.
I think it's kind of funny because I feel like I've never explicitly said this, but it's been a sentiment that I think has been kind of brewing for a while as I've watched new trailers and stuff for Mind's Eye. And it really does make me think of like an Xbox 360 or PS3 era kind of game. Like from...
You know what? I got one word for you. Crackdown.
Sure. I can kind of see Crackdown. Obviously there's like hints of like Watch Dogs in... the tech and everything.
Whoa. Whoa! What the fuck? What did Ubisoft do? It didn't even show up this year.
Hey, I'm not slandering Ubisoft or anything here. I'm just saying explicitly from like a drones and hacking kind of perspective, it does make me think a lot of like that original Watch Dogs and it just kind of being like an open world kind of game and everything. But yeah, it's not much to say on it. Like, we hope that
I do want to play it still, assuming that at least it gets fixed a little bit. I mean, look, I was duped into playing Rocket City twice. They're like, actually, we fixed the game now, and I was like, all right, you told me, don't tell me twice. I went back in, and I was like, nope, it's same game, fundamentally broken. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, this is going to be one developing story. I'm sure we'll kind of update as it goes along. Next up, speaking of update as it goes along, something that might not be going along for much longer. GameStop. The CEO has recently made a few statements, including claiming that the company's future is no longer in games, or won't be in games for long, I guess, is the idea. And that he foresees a expansion into trading cards, or further expansion, because right now, if you go to GameStop, they have just a lot of cards. Like half the counter now is just like either cards that you can buy or cards that like you can just take because they have like pack openings now every week at the local GameStop. So yeah, interesting that trading cards is what they thought to expand on.
Yeah, they also have like a grading service that you can like submit your cards to, and they do
that. Austin currently has a card running through, by the way. He opened a card that if it was a 10, I think it would grade at, it's like $500.
Wow.
It's like a Charizard. Yeah. And I'll be sure to share a photo, or I'll have him share a photo on our Discord or something. But yeah, so he's currently running through the process. He submitted it, I think, about 5 weeks ago, and in last week he got a notification that they received it. So these things work at a very slow pace. And one interesting thing that he told me, just kind of as we were talking about it, is that apparently GameStop not only offers this feature where like you can essentially, you have to buy a loader, which are like plastic kind of harder cases for a card. You have to get it and then you give it to them, and they will actually transport the card. Like they'll ship the card to the grading company, and the card will get graded and then you'll get it back. But if it's a good rating, I believe it's like if it's a 10 or 9 or something like that, they will actually give you an offer to buy it off of you right away, before without you having to like go back and pick it up, which is interesting. I guess cutting right to the point. Hey, this card looks nice. Take your 6 and 7s, but give us your 10s for probably base
we want
price.
The good shit.
Yeah, essentially. So who knows? We'll follow up with Austin on how his card rating comes in. I imagine he's going to be a very happy man if it's a 10, but yeah.
The card stuff, like, it's kind of understandable. It feels like there's a lot more combining of video gaming and trading card gaming in recent years.
The Final Fantasy, the Fallout, what was the other one? Assassin's Creed.
As somebody that works in a game store though and has to deal with the trading card crowd, it is like very obnoxious sometimes, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So it's just if they see that their future's in trading card games, like, I mean, I guess you can still keep the GameStop title, but I would probably just rebrand it. Like,
yeah, I gotta say, I gotta give myself props here. Nick knows about this, but I saw the news go out that the GameStop CEO says that their feature isn't in games, and I said, I guess their feature's in stopping, because goddamn, recent customer service around GameStops have been ass. Though that being said, I still have a GameStop Pro membership that like just I'll get it a year at a time, so I still got it for a few months. And so I go in just like, if I see a PS5 game that I don't have to spend over $10 for, I'm picking it up for sure. So I picked up a copy of new Tales from the Borderlands, and it was a pre-owned copy, so it was $8. I was like, you know what, that's fine by me. With the $5 off, it was like $13 actually. But I opened the pre-owned copy. There's two codes inside, and the person clearly only redeemed the one code because there was one code at the top, and I typed that one, and I was like, this can't be used, and then, this got to be used. I typed it in, and I was like, yeah, this code's already been used. I was like, all right, that's no problem. And so I'm looking at what else there is, and there's like a little note from the developer, and then there's also another code. I was like, huh, and so I typed that code in, unused. So now I got the deluxe edition bundle, digitally, and I also got the original Tales from the Borderlands. So
Oh, nice.
it was great. Yeah,
Did you play the
I got
original?
both. I have. I really like the original, which is
Yeah.
why I was curious to try out the new one. But hey, if I got the new one, the old one again, I might just play the old one again. It's a good game.
That makes it worth it, honestly. $8 for the Tales from the Borderlands one is great. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that game. Alrighty.
Anyway, back to the news.
Yeah. Another kind of quickie. Konami kind of had this weird direct-esque live stream this past week where they showed off a little bit of Metal Gear Solid Delta and also one other Silent Hill F. And the big kind of newsworthy announcement out of this was that they did confirm that Bloober Team is working on a Silent Hill 1 remake, I guess in the same vein as Silent Hill 2 remake from last year.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Wow, dude, fast. Or actually, not fast. This is the fact that it's confirmed is not surprising. I'm mixing up my thought lines here. The fast was for the fact that the Return to Silent Hill, the movie, is coming out in January. That's fast. I saw that earlier today, and I was like, I thought this was just happening. I thought it was like we were in pre-production still, but yeah, coming out. I mean, look, January, February, these horror fans are eating nice. You got Silent Hill movie, and then you can go home in February and play Resident Evil Requiem. Man.
Yeah, double feature.
Yeah.
But yeah, Silent Hill 1, I think obviously around the time that Silent Hill 2 was announced to be being remade, people were like, well, why not 1? 1's like older and like arguably could, use it a little bit more. So it's happening finally. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I'm assuming it's going to be very similar to Silent Hill 2 remake, the third person over the shoulder kind of, camera perspective, that sort of thing. And yeah, I was admittedly part of the crowd that was like a little bit skeptical going into Silent Hill 2 remake. I was also part of the crowd coming out of Silent Hill 2 remake where I'm like, hey, it was pretty good. My biggest complaint with Silent Hill 2 remake was actually that it felt a little bit bloated compared to the original one. In that some of the extra stuff that they added in, I don't think was all that additive to the overall experience. So I'm curious to see if a remake of 1, if they kind of try to stick it pace-wise a little bit closer to that original game, or if they do try to blow the lid off, so to speak, with extra stuff as well.
Yeah. Bloober Team, another developer that's, I don't know, man. I find it so impressive when teams that are, especially small teams. I can't imagine Bloober's just a massive production company, but working on multiple games at the same time and juggling that process. It makes sense when like a Bethesda does it because they're Bethesda. It makes sense even when like a CD Projekt Red does it because CD Projekt Red's currently, and they're not even like juggling multiple games in a way like, I think Cyberpunk is still in pre-production or no. Yeah, I think Witcher has gone into production and Cyberpunk is still in pre-production, but there's also like 2 different studios they have working on those games. So anyway, for Bloober Team to work on Silent Hill 1 remake, as well as the not Chronos.
No, it's Chronos.
It is Chronos? Okay. Yeah, the Chronos game. Hey, good for them. And they're working on something else too, I think, isn't it? There's like an unannounced project of some
I
sort.
think so.
Yeah. That.
Busy people over there. But yeah,
by the way, to really shout out Bloober Team. I know a lot of people really like Layers of Fear. Observer. Highly recommend checking that out if you're waiting for the next Bloober game to hold you over.
Yeah, you're the champion of Observer that I've come across. I do need to play it at some point because it does seem like it's kind of up my alley.
For sure.
Um, Marathon, Marathon,
Who who would have
delayed.
seen this coming? Yes, yes. Um, this is such an interesting position for this game to be in. I mean, what's your take on this before I kind of go on my spiel? Because
Uh, Unsurprising, like you briefly mentioned there. I think it sounds like from that alpha test or whatever, just there was some things that people were like, it could be better. And I think this is maybe a sign of, I don't know if this was like a Sony decision or if this was a Bungie decision, but I would not be surprised if Sony's a little bit gun shy about putting out another live service game and it not being like universally loved right out of the gate. I think Concord definitely has them a little bit scared of what could happen if they were a little bit too bullish and put something out early when, you know, it has a lot of features that people are like, hey, why isn't this here? Like, all these other games like Arc Raiders or even like Helldivers have things like voice chat that we want that this game seemingly doesn't have. So, yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a Sony decision to push it back. At the same time, yeah, based on the sentiment that you and I have seen online, it's like it's not entirely a shocking announcement to come across on your feed.
yeah. I mean, they said this was coming out in September, and I think since that initial alpha test, it was kind of looking a little bleak. I think this is a amalgamation of multiple things, and I have to imagine that currently morale is really low at Bungie because you have this. I mean, look again when you want to look at the bigger picture, right? And any one of these details could be bigger or smaller than what we're saying here, but at the very least, these are factors of why this game was delayed. One is the fact that that alpha test that they had was not received perhaps as overwhelmingly or like graciously as maybe they were hoping because there was a lot of criticism of that game, rightfully so. I mean, like that's what an alpha needs, that kind of thing. You want the feedback so that you can improve the game. It's part of the gameplay loop or the design loop, I suppose. Development loop. There you go. But along with that, it's this thing that happens all the time on the internet, and I do my best. I think Nick does it as well, where we don't compare things directly for the sake of comparing them, especially if it's like trying to shit on something, right? We rarely go out of our way to be like, oh, I'm really liking this game, unlike this other game. Like there's no need
Mm-hmm.
to kind of throw hands or elbows at some other game. But the internet loves to compare things, and especially when kind of things line up, like the way they did for Marathon Alpha Test and the Arc Raiders kind of beta or alpha. Maybe it was also an alpha, but early test for that game as well. And there's the statistic that really gets thrown around a lot about how the day by day average player count for Marathon kept going down, whereas Arc Raiders kept going up, which was obviously a kind of a trend, an easy to read into trend. So that's one big thing, and then kind of constantly being like, oh, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this, and it's like all these criticisms that are again valid that were leveled against the game. And then I think that on top of that, the whole controversy regarding the stolen art assets, would be it by someone who was no longer with the company, or it was an oversight that somehow got into like whatever the reasoning is. Clearly had an impact on morale. I mean that podcast that they did from Bungie, um, I think it was like the week of this whole kind of big debacle.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, yeah, what do you like? They're just like dejected. I have to imagine that's going to be the kind of the theme for how Bungie's feeling right now. And so that plus what Nick was saying, all are kind of valid points for why this game is indefinitely delayed. We don't have an updated window of release at all, and I don't foresee that this game will get canceled
Nah, I
because there is a lot of money that has gone into it. It's one of those things where you got to see it through at this point. And I feel like with Bungie's pedigree, you probably get away with a little bit, at least a little bit of it, in terms of player base.
Yeah, I think Concord was a very specific kind of weird situation with that one and why they pulled the plug so early on that. I think like even just like
Yeah.
studio wise, like the Firewalk, that was like built up as like a Sony first party studio, wasn't it? And then like
Yeah, I believe
Bungie,
so.
they still have this kind of weird like, yeah, they're a Sony studio, but they're also they're still Bungie over here doing their Bungie thing. So I think at a base level, there's no threat really of Marathon just like pulling a Concord essentially, where it's like we're launched and then like 10 days later it's like we're pulling the plug on it. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think
I don't think it's necessarily. I mean, like canceled before it comes out. You know what I mean? I'm saying like a Naughty Dog's live service game that seemingly back then it was Bungie had reviewed and essentially said no, we're not. Like the feedback wasn't good and they were like, we're not going to work on it anymore.
At least like with Marathon, they actually have player hands-on and like stuff out there. Naughty Dog, I think, is a little bit of an easier pill to swallow, even though it still sucked because it's like, okay, this team worked on this game for years and we're just not going to see it. Like all we had to go off of was like 2 pieces of concept art for that game. So it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I have a firm belief that the reason why the Last of Us Part 1 remastered and the Part 2 remastered, I have a feeling that those exist entirely because that Naughty Dog game was that live service game was canceled, because they're like, all right, we got these developers, they need to make money, we need something that we know will sell copies. Let's remake the last game again. Like that has to be why they released so many damn versions of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
But yeah, Marathon. We'll see you at some point.
Yep. Now, the last one, bit of a small story. It was like an 18-minute direct earlier today for Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is, we're roughly a month away from release. So, yeah, did you catch this one, Nick?
I did watch this one. I was an enjoyer of the reveal trailer for this at the Switch 2 Direct, and obviously looks like it's coming from the Mario Odyssey team, even though Nintendo, for whatever reason, doesn't want to say yes to that. This Direct does highlight that even more. There's just so many little, like, UI things, and even down to like how, there's different...
Isn't Pauline the girl from Odyssey? Or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the character that sings in like New Donk City and everything.
Yeah.
So she's going to be like your kind of companion character in this game, and yeah, it looks really solid. It looks like a lot of fun. It has a little bit more than you're even expecting, I'd say. I take it that you probably didn't watch the Direct.
I did watch some of it, and yeah, I have some thoughts, but yeah.
Did you see
they're
the
not
weird,
going to be as significant,
like 3D modeler
sculpting?
Yeah,
sculpting thing. Yeah, 100%. What a weird tool to just throw in there for the hell of it.
You're just like, yeah, just like mess around with this. You can put like bananas in the background and stuff, and it's just like, okay, cool, I guess.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, essentially, there's a feature in Donkey Kong Bonanza where you can use the Switch 2's mouse controls to essentially sculpt out of the, I guess, dirt. All right. You can sculpt and pretty much anything you want, and then you can even like go in and color it as well. It's just like a weirdly advanced. It's literally just a 3D modeling software that is being added to this game, but the only asset you can use is dirt asset.
Yeah, it's very Nintendo, very wild. I saw one person compare it to the Mario 64 like menu screen, like where you can stretch his like face out and stuff.
Oh sure,
it's like kind of weirdly like that. So it's not just faces though. Like they showed that they made like a rock pizza.
Scratch my face when you said that to mimic the Mario's face, and I was like, that's not gonna work.
But yeah, it looks really snappy. The music sounds really nice. The visuals obviously are great. It looks like it's running well. So, the one weird thing that I don't really understand, like, again, this is just like one of those Nintendo things, but it's like the entire game takes place underground, and even in the trailer, they're just like, even if the levels don't necessarily look like it, and there's like a part where you're like swimming in water and it just looks like the sky and stuff, but it's like that's underground. And so it's just like the whole like point of the game is that you're trying to go to the core of the planet, because apparently like there's like a wish that'll be granted, and Pauline's trying to get back to the surface. So it's like you're trying to get down to the core. And so like, it's a cool concept. Like, I think that is cool, but it's just like you drop in and then it just looks like you're outside. It's I don't know. It's a little bit weird, but in the grand scheme of things,
but hey, this is Nintendo's Last of Us, man. You got a big hairy man and a little tiny girl that he has to escort to get her to a destination.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but I can see it. What I did see was when you're dropping into different areas, it does look a lot like the Tears of the Kingdom kind of tech of going down into the depths and stuff. So I'm sure they're definitely sharing some technology among their studios.
Yeah. So I know, as the fellow Switch 2 owner, are you picking up Donkey Kong Bonanza?
I think I am. I'm not like a huge Donkey Kong guy by any means. Like, I've played
Me neither.
Country Returns.
That's who I mained in Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, like I've played Country Returns on the Wii, but outside of that, I've just really dabbled in like a couple of the games. But I'm more so interested because it is like Mario Odyssey team, and I had fun with Mario Odyssey, so it's like...
And it's the only real... I mean, obviously there's Mario Kart World, but you seem to have... You've gotten a lot out of it already, it seems.
Yeah, I'm still gonna play it, but like, yeah, I'm pretty much hitting my natural casual stopping point with Mario Kart. So it's like, yeah, it'll be nice to have something a little bit more meaty, I'm thinking, to really sink your teeth into.
Oh yeah. All right, well, there you go. That is the news for today. There's probably a few more small stuff that we probably don't need to tackle, because we got a hefty main topic to go to. But of course, before we get there, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Yeah, I want to get down there just in case. Like, I don't know what it does yet, so just in case it takes a bit of time. I want to give us plenty of time to do it.
Yeah.
Is it one of the, okay, that's an Evertrail. Okay.
Alright, I opened it.
Oh, shit!
It summons a fucking boss!
We're back, and this is all about Call of Duty. All right? I said duty. This is essentially a tier list, which we've not yet done. You know, considering we've made 50 episodes and not a single one has been a tier list, I mean... It's time we start milking this thing, all right?
Yeah.
So imagine the next video is going to be consoles ranked, and then the next video after that, last person to stop to take their hands off of their PS5 while it's running Elden Ring. The challenge video. We're getting there. You know, that's the place we're getting to. The Respawn Station podcast, of course. Are any of those ideas real? You have to subscribe and come back every week to find out. But Call of Duty, this is a series that both Nick and I have sort of a love-hate relationship with. It's really ebbed and flowed for me personally. I don't know if Call of Duty context is necessary, but I'll kind of briefly say, and I'll do my piece, and Nick will do his piece. There was a point where I absolutely adored the series. And it was like, made up a huge chunk of what I played. And I think nowadays, and then there was a strong point where I absolutely I was like, oh, God, get that out of my face. And, I was just, did not touch it. There's a few years where I didn't buy or, play the newest Call of Duty at all. and then we're back a little bit more towards center. I feel like if I started off on one extreme and then I went to the other extreme, now I'm somewhere in the middle where every few months I'll say, yeah, I could probably use a Call of Duty of some sort. And recently, that has been Call of Duty Warzone. I've been playing a lot of that since Verdansk came back earlier this month or earlier this year. But literally as of yesterday, I'm also back into Call of Duty for the campaign because Black Ops 7 got revealed. So I decided to start over and prepare. And so I've just started Black Ops 1 yesterday, and I actually flew through. I forgot to mention this, I suppose, in the what we're playing section. In my head, the games I stream aren't games I'm playing for some reason. So
Work.
I'm streaming it. I'm streaming it. I'm not playing it. I don't know what you mean. So I'm over halfway done the game. So next episode I'll come back and I'll give you my full thoughts on Call of Duty Black Ops 1. But yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. And Nick, what about you? What's your Call of Duty take?
Very similar to yours. There was a point in time when similar, it was pretty much all that I was playing. Got to a burnout point, and then it was nothing that I was playing for a very long time. And then, really, I think it was around the Modern Warfare 2019 remake was where that spark kind of relit for me, where it was like, because admittedly, I'm very nostalgic for the original Modern Warfare games. Like, that was that high point for me, was playing those games with friends, after middle school or high school, whenever that was. And it's, yeah, like, I'm definitely, like, in that middle kind of range, maybe a little bit more in the positive. It's like, I have to take my multiplayer in small doses, essentially, now. No game gets me angry like Call of Duty does in multiplayer. But I definitely am at a point now where I appreciate the campaigns probably more than I ever did. Like, you play them when you're younger and you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. But then like you go back and like you re-experience it and you're like, no wait, they were actually cooking here. Like, this is pretty cool.
Dude,
like
100% what I'm feeling right now playing Black Ops is it's really like, when I was a kid, I was just like, whoa, I'm now riding a bike, and then it explodes, like like there's all that, but like now that not that I'm bringing this up to brag about it, because we do have debt, but we went to film school, and that experience I think has significantly shaped the way I look at stories and storytelling, and I do think looking at Call of Duty from that lens is so interesting because they really understand how to make this very specific blockbuster like narratives that are interactive, right? Like they're like summer action movies, but you can play with them, or you can play them. I mean, and yeah, go ahead. I agree. They really were cooking.
Yeah, and so pretty much I had this idea that we would maybe just go back and forth and rank these games, partially because of the Black Ops 7 reveal, and partially because I know like it was kind of on the top of your mind recently, so I thought it would be kind of a fun little way to take this episode, seeing as we didn't really have any other big pressing main topic to go over.
Yeah, no, and this is we're coming to this kind of blind to see where the games rank. I've played a lot of Call of Duty games, and I've experienced most of them, but definitely not all. So we're going to be upfront and transparent about that. I know Nick has more experience in that because he's played more than me.
Yeah,
so,
we're not going to
include just start
weird spin-off games. Like, this is mostly just going to be main series. Again, we might throw in the odd Black Ops Declassified here where we're relevant, but specifically we're mainly just focusing on main series entries.
Yeah. Now, let's start chronologically from the top and rewind the clock back to 2003. I hope that came through. This started, believe it or not, by a game called Call of Duty. released for the PC, I believe. Yeah, for the PC. Published by Activision, developed by Infinity Ward, and it's a first-person shooter that takes place during the events of World War II.
Yeah.
2003, Call of Duty.
I played this
Nick?
game last year for the first time.
Yes, I do remember.
And I had a pretty fun time with it. It definitely still has, it's a first swing essentially. So there's some really cool parts about it. There's also some old game jank a little bit here and there, but honestly, like, I think it still holds up, especially pretty well for a 2003 first-person shooter. You kind of have to trick your brain a little bit on different kind of mechanics. So, like, they have, fixed, like, health amounts, and, like, there's, like, med packs and stuff like that. So it's a bit of an older style shooter, but visually, I think it still holds up. The sound design is, like, incredible still, so I would honestly probably put this in like a B tier kind of category, based on the ones that I've played.
Okay.
I had fun with it.
Dang, B tier to start off. And I can't really argue with them because I haven't played it. Eventually I will, and then I'll come back and I'll be like, actually, Nick. But until then, Call of Duty stays at B tier. 2003. Then we skip 2 more years. Now, in between, there are some other Call of Duty games. There's re-releases for other consoles under different names and stuff like that. That happens a lot with this series because, believe it or not, there are over 50 Call of Duty games. But, of course, we're sticking to the mainline ones. So, next up is 2 years later. We got a game, believe it or not, called Call of Duty 2. That's right. It's just a direct sequel, no subtitle.
Are you serious? 2?
So, Nick, again,
COD
what do you
2.
think? Call of Duty 2.
Real quick, have you played Call of Duty 2? This is the first one that was on like 360 and
yeah.
I actually don't know if it was on PS3. Oh, there goes the light. Yeah, Call of Duty 2. I played this one on 360 a couple years ago.
It's only on 360. 360 and Mac OS, actually. It's kind of crazy.
This one it's an interesting game because obviously it's following up a World War II shooter. It's another World War II shooter. This one, I think, was the first point where it kind of broke into the popular culture, though, because it was around an Xbox 360 launch, I believe. I don't think it was a launch game per se, but I think it was within the first year of Xbox 360. And this was the first one that kind of popularized like the multiplayer, or at least like had Xbox Live multiplayer kind of core to the experience,
Right.
we'll say.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like, like I'm not a huge Office person, but I remember there's like an episode of The Office where they're playing Call of Duty 2, like in amongst each other and everything. So this was the first one that I kind of think of that like it was hitting like a different kind of pop culture touchstone.
Sure. Though I will say that doesn't entirely mean much, Nick, because I'm just going to tell you this. All right. I was, last month I was binging the Mission Impossible movies, and there is a blatant Halo 5 Guardians promo in one of the movies. Like it is so odd. Like it was like, okay, how much money did Xbox pay for this? Like it's literally a character playing it at work, and then when their boss is coming, they quickly quick alt tab out of it, and then they're like back to doing work. I was like, God damn, okay. Anyway,
that real quick side tangent. I love Payday. They have had crossovers in the past, and Payday 2 had a DLC crossover with John Wick. And I remember going into John Wick 2, and I was like, there's got to be some Payday nod in here or something, because I don't know why John Wick would just show up in the games. And there is a part in the background.
Is it really?
There's posters of some of the clown masks from Payday 2 in one of the shots in John Wick 2.
That's actually kind of sick, actually. I wasn't expecting that. Sure, yeah. Okay.
Just funny product placement in those things. But
fuck yeah.
Yeah, Call of Duty 2 ranking wise, the the one thing that sticks out to me about Call of Duty 2, like I remember having fun with it, but I remember there being this mission towards the end of the game where you have to defend this hill, and it's one of those kind of old game style missions where it's like, okay, we put you in the level, now there's a 10-minute timer, like survive essentially until you win. And I remember it being very frustrating. Like there's like tons of grenade spam and like tanks and rockets that are constantly like pinning you down everywhere. So that gives me kind of like a little bit of salt in my memory for that game. I don't know. I think like I could see it being like a low B or a high C for me. Like I think it's okay. A cool game, but I think I had more fun with the first game than 2.
And you know what? That's fair. I think we call it a C. I've barely played this one, and I don't remember it very much. So I think that me not remembering it very much probably knocks it down. Though I know Big Red 1 is what the because isn't this one was re-released as Big Red 1?
That's on PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I think that one was a lot more like people really. I remember hearing good things about Big Red 1 or bad things. At this point, I don't even know.
I also remember that.
That back then, it was developing with so many different studios. Like I don't recognize Gray Matters Interactive, Demonware, Pi Studios. Interesting. Anyway, you were saying?
Call of Duty 2 also had Captain Price in it, which is just one of those funny kind of like, oh.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow. I didn't know he went that back to the roots of the Call of Duty.
I think it's like a different person with the same name, but it's like he still has like the mustache and everything. So it's like
they just funny. Really like the name Captain Price. They're like, the character we didn't nail, but the name we gotta have Captain Price come back. Okay, that's fair. Call of Duty 3. This is just a 1-year gap. So at this point onward, Call of Duty pretty much remains a yearly release because from first to the second one, there's a 2-year gap, 2003 to 2005, and then Call of Duty 3 onward, it is year after year after year, and then in some years, multiple games because again, there's multiple teams working here. So when World at War or something comes out, there's World at War DS and World at War Mobile, and stuff like that. But Call of Duty 3, Nick.
Yeah,
this is the last game that'll be entirely up to you. The rest, I believe, I have played to some degree.
Also played this one last year when I was going through my Call of Duty kind of spree. I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Call of Duty 3 is one of the only ones non-spin-off that is exclusive to consoles. I'm not sure that it has a PC version.
You are correct. It is PS2, PS3, 360, original Xbox, and Wii.
Which is funny you mentioned, because Wii was the first version that I played.
It was
the first Call of Duty game I ever played, was Call of Duty 3 on the Wii.
The only major installment to not release on PC.
Yeah, Call of Duty 3, it's a bit of a weird one. I liked it. In my memories, playing it on the Wii when I was like, I'm not used to first-person shooters. That's really when I'm starting to get introduced to those. And it's just like, oh, I can get a gun and I can shoot it. Like, I have, positive memories associated to that. Whereas, you look at it today and it's just like, disgusting character models and really bad frame rate and motion controls and all that. But honestly, the 360 version, which I played last year, also has really bad frame rate in that game. And it looks a bit nicer, but it also looks extremely washed out. The art direction is very different. So I'm pretty confident in putting Call of Duty 3 in C tier. I think it's fine, but it certainly has a lot of rough edges. And I think this was where they were kind of trying to toy with upgrading the engine and everything, and I don't think that transition was as smooth as later games would prove.
Yeah, I think the Call of Duty games notoriously had went a ridiculously long time by just using the same engine.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to a point where people were like, dude, just upgrade, please, for the love of God. And then they upgraded, and I mean, we'll get to that. All right, so far we've gotten through the original trilogy, Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, and they go with a B and a C and a C. Now it's time for really where Call of Duty becomes the juggernaut that it is, no pun intended. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, releasing 2007. I mean, I didn't experience this multiplayer because this is one of the games I revisited. So for me, it was mainly campaign. This game has a ridiculously impressive campaign.
Yeah, I know where I'm putting
mean-
it, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, I think it can go no lower than an A tier. I think like at the very least, it is an A tier. Is it an S tier? I think if I had maybe the multiplayer experience behind me, I would have gone for S. Nick, do you have that multiplayer experience to back it up?
I do. I did play a decent bit of Call of Duty 4 multiplayer. Obviously, it was more Modern Warfare 2 was where the bread and butter was
Sure.
for me. But I did get to like max rank in COD 4, and it's a lot of fun. I think we've talked about it before on here, where it's like Call of Duty 4, this is where Call of Duty today, I guess, is really kind of like, this was the branching point. Like, once this came onto the scene, this changed the course of the industry, essentially. So the multiplayer, it was simple, it was arcadey, it was, by what most modern players would look, probably too simplistic, but for the time, it had enough depth. It had, it had the rock music, it had the loud noises, the fast time to kill and everything. It had great maps that are, still remade and put into modern games today. So I think the multiplayer had it all. The campaign is one of the most memorable campaigns that Call of Duty has ever produced, in my opinion. Again, that could be nostalgia talking, but like, just that first mission going onto the boat in Call of Duty 4 and like dropping in weapons 3 and just like clearing out that room, it is the definition of iconic. So for me, I'm putting it in S tier.
I'll give you the S tier. I do think part of what you have to look at when it comes to these games, and again, we're still in the very early on in the series. Some games will have less to say about it than others, but we also have to look at the general impact, right? It's not just personal opinion. I think the way we want to approach this tier list as in a kind of a rounded sense as we can, a holistic sense. So it's going to be the reception of how we felt about it, the critical reception, but then also its impact. And some of these games have a huge impact. Some of them have a huge impact in a negative way, and so S tier. I'll happily give Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare an S tier. It is an all-time, like, if you like first-person shooters, you should absolutely play COD 4 or COD 4 remastered if you want to experience just the campaign.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that, but one of the few games to get a remaster for this series.
You know what? I did actually play remastered multiplayer. I played a lot of remastered multiplayer. So if we're counting that, then yes, I will back it, because we're not going to talk about remastered separately here. So yeah, you know what? I S tier confidently, because the multiplayer, they are really, like, those maps age really well, and I think it's because Call of Duty has this really specific formula of how their multiplayer maps are. And while that has evolved and gotten more complex, the kind of core basics is just so fundamentally strong that, as Nick was saying, that's why they keep bringing them back. Then we have Treyarch. So this is where Call of Duty's going on a cadence back and forth between Infinity Ward and Treyarch. So in Modern Warfare 1, COD 4 Modern Warfare was Infinity Ward. So Call of Duty World at War in 2008 was Treyarch. Nick, what do you think about World at War?
World at War is a really interesting game for me specifically, because it was never one that was like I was super crazy about, but some of my friends, it's like it's their COD 4, it's their S tier like Call of Duty game, and so I've played it at various stages of my life. I played it back then also on 360. I played it within the last couple years doing like custom zombies and like some PC multiplayer and stuff. And I replayed the game in co-op a couple years ago as well, which again is talk about rare things in this series. It's one of the games that you can play campaign co-op.
One of the three,
yeah,
or one of the two currently out campaigns, or Call of Duty campaigns that you can play in co-op.
Yeah, and so it's also tonally a very different Call of Duty game from most of all of the other series. It is a lot darker. It's a lot gorier than like any other. I would probably say this is the goriest Call of Duty game. Like if you care about that metric.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has that kind of tech backbone of Call of Duty 4, but the World War II setting, and it's a very interesting game. I don't feel like the maps are as iconic for multiplayer. There's definitely like some that have brought their way back to future games, but I think the enduring legacy for World at War was the introduction of zombies. That is, I think, and specifically those core four, original launch, Nocturne and Toten, Shinonuma, Verrucht, and Darius. Those are the like, whenever I think of Call of Duty Zombies, that's what I think of, and like a couple of the Black Ops 1 maps that we'll get into. But yeah, at the same time, it's like I think back and it's like, yeah, but I also played multiplayer on 360 and got into a hacked lobby where they de-leveled me and locked me out of being able to play multiplayer. So it's like,
lol.
there's some like
fucked
negativity that I have associated with that game, some positivity. For me, it's probably like A tier. But yeah, that's kind of, I think that's where I land on it, is A tier specifically. I also think like while the co-op campaign is cool and the setting obviously is very cool. Man, I just talked myself out of this. I was gonna say like it's just kind of like an okay campaign, but then you play at the end with Reznov and you're like planting the flag like and stuff, and so there is some cool...
Reznov is in World at War?
Yeah, I don't know if you play as him, but there is definitely a mission where he's like your compatriot, like
interesting
companion. That's the word I wanted. But yeah, there's definitely some cool levels in there. So I kind of just talked myself out of that campaign point I was gonna make. But yeah, I'd probably be an A tier for World at War. What about you?
I'll back an A tier because I did not play the campaign. May go back now and play it, even though I don't know if it's in the Black Ops timeline. But I played multiplayer a little bit, but mainly is the zombies, as you were saying. And I say A tier because World at War is cool. It definitely is a super like surprisingly gory game, especially even if you go back playing other Call of Duty games. Go into this one, it's like the campaign. Even the campaign has the gore levels of like later on Call of Duty Zombies modes. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird level of detail there. But no, it's I think the thing that's most impressive about this game is that while it doesn't look nowhere near kind of the fidelity of modern Call of Duty games, it has this great sense of atmosphere that it captures, especially zombies, and I think that's part of the reason why they're so kind of that zombies mode is so good. But, and it's kind of a spoiler for I think kind of the discussion going forward, and maybe even the next one that we're about to talk about, because I think that some of in Call of Duty, in this early era of Call of Duty, a lot of times it's like they set it up, and I think that the follow-up sometimes ends up becoming a better, like, oh, we'll build on that. And this is where Call of Duty was doing that really well. So we'll stick with World at War at A tier, but to kind of tee up for the next one, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare set the stage. It was like campaign, multiplayer. These are the modes that are in a Call of Duty game, what you can expect. And the campaign set a certain standard and the multiplayer set a certain standard. And in 2009, Infinity Ward released Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and they pretty much took all that and elevated it with a crazier campaign. This one being a lot more unrealistic, over the top. I don't know what the word is, but like
maybe.
Yeah. This one being more bombastic and a multiplayer that kind of builds on the bare bones that were established in Modern Warfare to have more kind of depth there. The result is just a really entertaining campaign mode, a multiplayer mode that has absolutely iconic maps, to the point where I think this is, for me, where Call of Duty becomes part of just cultural zeitgeist. Like 1v1 me on Rust is such a thing on, like Call of Duty was so big.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 1v1 me on Rust is like a thing of like, if you want to throw down with someone, that's what you say. So I think that Modern Warfare 2 is an S tier game. That's why I was willing to debate about COD 4. But I think we can, Infinity Ward could have been just absolutely pumping it out at this time. What do you think?
Yeah, this is easy S tier for me. This is arguably probably my favorite game in the entire series, and this is also the one that I'm the most biased and nostalgia pilled on. Like, this was, I saved up money for like an entire year or a year and a half to buy an Xbox 360. It was the first console that I bought with my with my money, and the first game that I got was Modern Warfare 2, and like it was very foundational for that part of my life, let's say, with my gaming tastes and everything. And online multiplayer was a new thing to me. Being able to talk to my friends on a headset was like a new concept. I remember laughing the first time that I was in a group chat with my good friend Shane, because I was just like, this is weird. Like, I don't talk to people unless they're like in the room with me, right? So it's like,
yeah,
it was a very new time. This was also kind of charts the rise of YouTube and content creation, I feel, because this was like the kind of boiling point, I feel like, where gaming videos on YouTube kind of really started taking off. I mean, there was like Halo stuff in Machinima before this, but like to mention them, Machinima Respawn and like Call of Duty videos and 30-0 tactical nuke videos, those sort of things. Like,
and this is also when FaZe is making those incredible montages, with sniping montages and stuff, like getting that Sui's, all those, it's crazy.
And so, yeah, you mentioned maps that persist, even the Spec Ops mode. Like, I've played with friends, and it's like, that's pretty
Survival,
fun too.
Yeah.
Campaign, iconic. Again, there's not really any other words to really describe about it. I mean, there's so much about this game that they got right, even down to the score. We've talked about Hans Zimmer, like
Hans Zimmer coming in with with the theme for this. I mean, it is, the really, really good score for Modern Warfare 2. And here's the thing, right? I think part of this is definitely nostalgia fueled, and it's hard to entirely remove that from the ranking process. Because similar to what Nick was saying, right? I remember there's a story I've told in maybe season 0. I don't know if I've talked about it this season, but essentially, at the time when I only owned a Nintendo Wii, one of my buddies invited me over, and we played on this PlayStation 3, and we were passing the control back and forth, playing Fallout New Vegas. And I remember being like, "What games can do this? Like, you can just like go around here, like what?" And so I knew as soon as I left, I was like, I have to convince my parents to let me get a PlayStation 3. And, there's a lot of work that had to be done to make sure I earned it. But then, it was a very vivid memory of my dad was going to the gym to work out, but he's like, you know what, come with me. And we went to Walmart. And when we went to Walmart, they only had one bundle of the PlayStation 3 Slim left. And it was a PlayStation 3 Slim with Call of Duty Black Ops, which brings us to the next game from Treyarch in 2010. This is the start of the Black Ops series, and it is a very, very famous game. And for me, it's a special game because it's my very first chronological Call of Duty. later on, I did go. I went back and played other Call of Duty games and stuff. But man, Black Ops was just an absolutely mind-blowing experience. And I think, especially having now just yesterday started playing Black Ops, I really want you to think about this, Nick. All right, and obviously the people that are listening at home or wherever you're listening to it. I know you're listening to this on the toilet, you weirdo. Anyway, so that one person's gonna get real freaked out now. Anyway, so think about this, right? So you're a kid, and you've probably been playing, let's say the most amount of time you've been playing Wii Sports on your Nintendo Wii. There's other games, here and there. Like I played Indiana Jones, apparently. I played Indiana Jones as the Staff of Kings, and I didn't even remember it. But I was playing Spyborgs, I think, was another game from Capcom that I remember. But that's kind of what I was experiencing on there. And I had a Nintendo DS, and on the DS, I was playing pretty much Pokemon, like either Pokemon Pearl or Pokemon Rangers of Almia. And that was all that I had experienced. And then to be, literally go home, open my PS3, plug it in, and insert a disc. And back then, you just put that shit in, and the game started. There was no install updates or anything like that. So putting in a copy of Black Ops, and right away, the menu screen was interactive. Like you were looking around the menu screen, and there's a TV where you can select like new game, multiplayer, or whatever, and the you can't even explain how crazy that was for me. And then to experience that campaign, which again at the time, I was really just like, oh wow, it's cool. It's fucking there's war and then these moments, these. By the way, now going back to it, I can really pinpoint some of the things about it, but like the actors in this game are giving ridiculous performances. Like, why is Gary Oldman committing to this so hard? The last mission I played last night was literally, I was like, all right, I'm going to stop now. It was a good 7 missions. I think I'm going to stop. And this mission was entirely just Reznov reciting this thing, and then you kind of cut back to Reznov, playing through what Reznov was talking about. But it is so compelling because there is just so much character in the way he says it. Even Sam Worthington, who at the time was coming hot off of the heels of the highest grossing movie of all time at the international box office, went from that to Black Ops, and he's playing the lead of Black Ops, and he's giving it this like he's just giving this like just he's really going for it. I have no idea how Treyarch I mean, it is an S tier obviously for nostalgia alone, but the music, I believe it's Trent Reznor's music at the very least. Is it Trent Reznor? I think Black Ops 2 is Trent Reznor. Now I'm second guessing myself.
I'm
the
not
Black
too
Ops
certain
score
for Black Ops. Yeah,
I'll look it up. But yeah, not score streaks. Not. I realize that now. Black Ops soundtrack. It seems it was Sean Murray.
No Man's Sky.
Not the. I was gonna say not the developer of No Man's Sky. Yeah, I don't know if there's a full-on Black Ops.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it here, but so I don't think. I guess it wasn't. But either way, Black Ops. The music is just great, and I have a feeling it's pretty similar to how Nick will feel if you play in that little like menu music for Modern Warfare 2, and it's like I see things,
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, but for me with Black Ops, it's the menu music. Everything just fucking gets me going, and even more than that, the multiplayer is great. They added dolphin diving. I think Treyarch is consistently the developer that continues to play with what it means to make a Call of Duty game. And I'm not just saying that because one of my favorite games of all time, believe it or not, Sleeping Dogs, came from Treyarch initially. I'm not just saying that. So yeah, this is an S tier for me.
Yeah.
But I can hear a counterpoint if you'd like to make it.
I don't really have one, honestly. Like, for me personally, it's been a very long time since I played the campaign, so I'm pretty far removed from it. I just know that the general consensus is that it's up there with the best ones, if not the best. And so, like, for me personally, currently in this moment, it would be closer to an A tier, but I'm perfectly fine with it being an S tier. This was also the height of, again, my, full on commitment to Call of Duty. And so, like, this was like, I'm buying Microsoft points and getting the map packs when those come out, and like discovering zombies and how there's like an Easter egg, and now like there's this weird like pseudo narrative that's forming around this bonus mode. You have the first, I would say, the first kind of introduction of like weird like espionage, like a different type of story in the campaign, right? It's not just like a military kind of action thing. Like we're starting to play with different genres and different types of storytelling in the series, so I think that's definitely interesting. And the multiplayer, like Nuketown, iconic. Like there's not much you can really say on that front. It's funny that you mentioned the the music, because it's like, the Modern Warfare 2 music definitely does that for me, but also the Black Ops, the dun 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 dun, like that's seared in there. Yeah. So it's just like, Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops even like was crazy that those were back to back with each other.
Absolutely. And also like there's a certain flash of different animations that happen when you're transitioning in Black Ops, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh, it's like I feel like a Mason, where it's like I'm like a sleeper agent is being activated. Of like, I remember this. Okay.
And
Black Ops,
quick,
S tier.
Go
ahead.
Not to mention, just final point, combat training. There was a lot of time that I spent playing combat training in that game, and that was kind of a new thing that you could do in that game as well.
Yeah. Then in 2011, Infinity Ward came back with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Nick, if you're the Modern Warfare guy around here, I'll let you start.
This is a fun one to talk about. I definitely don't like it as much as Modern Warfare 1 and 2. At the same time, this was not the first, but this was around the time when I first started understanding that I was really into video games. And this was around the time when I discovered what E3 was, and actually started watching E3. And I remember specifically, because it was funny, I guess I could have watched these on YouTube, but at the time we had like Comcast cable, and we had On Demand, and they would put the press conferences on the video on demand. And so that's how I watched E3 press conferences for like a year or two, if I wasn't able to catch them on like Spike TV or G4 or whatever they were airing on. But I very specifically have memories of watching Modern Warfare 3, the opening New York level on like an E3 stage, and watching that in my old living room and everything. So it's just like, kind of memories that come back with that. But I think the scale of the campaign is really cool. Like, you're getting
the freaking Eiffel Tower coming down in one of the sequences is like, crazy. Yeah, I remember that very vividly.
Modern Warfare 2, I feel like, is a big part of its identity is like the invasion of America, right? Like that's like a big chunk of that campaign. And then Modern Warfare 3 is like expanded into like, World War 3 is like kind of the, the, I don't know if you'd call it the gimmick, the setup for the story and everything. For me specifically, I feel like this was the point where I played Modern Warfare 3 around when it came out, and this was where it started to be like, okay, like I spent a lot of money on Microsoft points and map packs, and it's not really interesting me the same as it did for Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2. That coupled with the fact where it's like, I just think that like the shooting and stuff, maybe it felt like a little bit too by the books by that point. Like it's like, oh, I've done this before, and like there's still definitely some standout moments, like you mentioned the Eiffel Tower. I always remember the plane crash mission where just like the back of the plane is like ripping off while you're like still in like a combat like encounter. So
Yep.
there's definitely some cool moments in Modern Warfare 3. I think it probably has some of the most forgettable maps. Like I'm even struggling to even think of Modern Warfare 3 specific maps right now.
Really?
Um
Okay.
yeah, so for me, I like parts of it. I don't like parts of it. I think it would be like a low A tier or a high B tier for me.
Yeah, I would say I'm a little conflicted on this one. So I played a lot of Modern Warfare 3 because I was like, when like Black Ops brought me in, and I was like, this Call of Duty stuff I got to get it. And so I remember getting Modern Warfare 3 on day one. I don't know, actually, Modern Warfare 3, I think I got the postman gave it to me too early. I think he was like a day before. So yeah, it was kind of cool back then.
Nice.
And it's very. I'm currently going through this right now in terms of I'm literally experiencing it live because I realized that this is around the time I went on this rabbit hole. All right, let me explain. Because Nick was talking about how this is when he got into video games and started watching E3 and stuff, which is also around when I was doing the same thing. But for me, it was also very quickly as I realized I was really into video games, I was also really into YouTube. And so I started making videos, and the way I'd make videos back then. Here's a fun fact for you guys, right? I don't have the stuff that I can do now, right? I don't have my computer that can easily stream or a capture card like an Elgato. I don't even know what it's called, like a something X. It has an X in it because that's cool. But back then, all I had was a PS3. So what I used to do was, and I had my parents' camcorder. So what I used to do was I'd stand up and I'd put the camcorder on on my seat of my chair, and then because you couldn't move because it has to be very specific, right? Like so it'd be right here, and I would literally just like squat behind the chair, and I'd frame the camcorder so it's exactly the screen, and I'd commentate by talking into it. Like I'd be like, all right, guys, welcome back to another Modern Warfare 3 survival gameplay. Like, and all of that stuff is currently private there, on my channel. But I just went back, and there is literally, I mean, it's so weird. I have TDM domination on the map Resistance, from Modern Warfare 3. Yeah, I even have. This one is public. I have a fucking montage from April 23rd, 2012. I made a montage of clips. Can only assume from my camcorder recordings. So yeah, Modern Warfare 3 holds a special place in my heart. To a second montage. Wow, this is incredible. So yeah, there's definitely a lot you could experience of my growth about these games. And what I feel about them. Yeah, but Modern Warfare 3, I liked it a lot, but I do think it's not as memorable. It's an easy game to play. There's a lot there, but I do agree. I would say high B tier, and so obviously that means just it's a B tier. We don't do high or low B tier. So I would lock it in for B if you're okay with that.
I'm perfectly fine with that. There's like a couple standout moments in the campaign that stick out in my head, but
I agree.
I think overall it's definitely a B tier.
I will say for me personally, maybe again it's that impact of the nostalgia. Really striking cover design. I like the white with the green text with the it's a very cool cover design. All right, now ladies and gentlemen, for me perhaps the easiest one to call. In 2012, Treyarch releases Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And this is an easy S tier. I don't have to debate much about it, but just to make the points, right? Let me give you a little bit of information about this, right? So this is from director Dave Anthony, who also did Call of Duty Black Ops 1. So it's the same kind of continuing that. But Black Ops 2 also has an additional writer of David S. Goyer, who just at the time was coming off of the heels of success of the the Dark Knight trilogy. He wrote Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and so that was huge. This one does have a score by Trent Reznor. It features a voice cast featuring but not limited to Sam Worthington, Michael Keaton, Michael Rooker, James C. Burns, Tony Todd. Again, just a crazy cast here. It features a song with Skrillex, and you know you know what that means.
Definitely of the time.
Definitely of the time, and man, I don't know if it's for sure, but I remember this trailer was like it did numbers, like huge numbers back then. The reveal trailer for Black Ops 2, and I watched it so many fucking times that things from that trailer are like just like stuck in my mind forever, like my memory forever. Like it's like a Woods doing a monologue. He's like, "Those who are willing to do what others cannot." And then boom, and then the fucking music drops. Absolutely incredible game, but that's just the campaign. It's got incredible multiplayer with I think a system that really set up the Modern Warfare, or sorry, the Call of Duty games to be. I don't know. It was different from what Modern Warfare was doing, but I think that it built a class system and everything that was very specific. It does have its shortcomings. I'm not going to say it's a flawless game, because I think that the campaign has certain like weird modes that they added to the campaign was just odd. But again, continually, the Treyarch does weird shit and they experiment, and I really respect them for it, because along with those weird missions, the game also has branching story paths and alternate endings, which was never really done in Call of Duty. And I think since then it's only been done like once or twice.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that they really played around with too much more after.
Yeah, so that's just that's my big spiel. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, Black Ops 2 is a really curious one for me, because it's like, if you would have asked me to do a tier list when I was younger, when I was playing these, this would have been like E tier. This was where like I dropped out of Call of Duty. I was just like, they're doing the future stuff. I don't care. I'm done. Like that was very much young me at the time.
But how about now that it's not the future, because it's 2025?
That gives me, brain starts firing whenever you hear stuff like that. But this was also one that I played last year for the first time, and yeah, I think the experimental nature of the game is the most exciting thing even now, as somebody that's played like a bunch of these games. It's like, oh, they actually were doing unique and interesting things with the campaign, not only if it being like kind of like a split timeline between like pre-future drone tech and then post-future drone tech stuff, like you mentioned, the branching paths and all that sort of stuff. I think the campaign was definitely really cool to experience. I think stylistically, I think it was a bit like a weird tone clash for me personally. Sure. I have zero experience with the multiplayer. I never played that, so I can't really speak to that.
Man.
I dabbled with the zombies a little bit. It seemed like it was an evolution of Black Ops 1. I know that there are some fan favorite maps that were carried over into like Black Ops 3 and stuff like that. So for me personally, it would probably be A tier, but I'm perfectly fine bumping that up to S tier. Because I know if I had experienced it, like the multiplayer and the full package and everything, like I'd probably be there with Black Ops 2.
Yeah. And speaking, I 100% agree. And Black Ops 2 is very, very memorable to me. And like the fact, it's crazy that you didn't get into multiplayer, because like, OG Nuketown, it was a crazy experience, but like the Nuketown 2025, I played the crap out of that. Not Hijacked. I'm terrible with map names. I know it might have been Hijacked. It's like a cruise or like a little yacht.
That's definitely one that's persisted into the future.
Yes, yeah. And actually, I think it's one of the reasons why I love the Blackout mode in one of the upcoming games that we're going to talk about, because Blackout was just pretty much Black Ops 2 maps littered across one big map, and Turbine, like going through that, yeah. Black Ops 2, I think all time great for me at least, and I will say that it's definitely left a mark. It doesn't feel like any other Call of Duty, and I think that's a good thing because again, there's so many of these that kind of sticks out. All right, now we've been talking quite a bit about some of these games. This is where I think for me at least it'll taper off a little bit because Ghosts is where I started to not fully like stay in line with the series because pretty much from I guess 3 years Black Ops to pretty much Call of Duty Ghosts, so 4 years I guess. I was on top of every Call of Duty. You know, I was actively following Ghosts. I did not pick up right on release. It came out in 2013, again from Infinity Ward. This one really aimed itself as like, you thought Black Ops 2 was changing the pace. No. And so Black Ops Ghost was like new gameplay style. The feel of it was different. I mean, it was a lot going on in this game. I don't remember much about it. I remember sequences and stuff. But it's not an overall. I don't know. I have to replay it maybe. But.
I was thinking about this earlier before recording because I was just like, what am I gonna say about some of these games? Ghosts is a really funny one to me because this is definitely the point in time where I think Call of Duty started getting flack for the yearly nature and everything. Perfectly, surmised in the revelation, and this was the first kind of time that I realized that people were looking at games in a very critical way, and it was the discovery that they reused animations from Modern Warfare 2 in the intro of Ghosts, where they're like they're running from the missiles coming down or whatever, and it's the exact same animations as the ending of Modern Warfare 2's campaign. And they had like side by sides and showed it's like the characters come in the exact same, the framing is identical to it. And I remember like the discourse around that being like, yeah, it's kind of lame and stuff. Playing it a couple years ago, it feels like it's like the closest Call of Duty has gotten to like a post-apocalyptic campaign. It's not really, but like there's like moments of it that feel kind of like that.
Honestly, so I don't remember it, so I'm watching the trailer again, and it really does have that like, the world's end. I mean, it's very bleak, surprisingly.
And then there's one thing that sticks in my mind about this game, and it was a song that they used for one of the trailers that just kind of always like, I kept in the back of my head. Like I used it in like a, pre-high school short film I made with friends and stuff, that was out when I was in high school. Is it the one
that's used in the Interstellar trailer? There's this piano music that's like that's used.
That's the song that I'm thinking of. I don't know if it's the one that's in there or not.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I believe it's called "The Sun," is what the name of the song is. But I remember, there's also Ghost has its like I think they did a collab with Eminem. So there's an Eminem song that he made for Call of Duty Ghosts.
Oh, Eminem. I thought Eminem's
not Eminem's the snack.
I was like, what? I don't remember that. That's great.
Yeah. Honestly, though, revisiting it, Call of Duty Ghosts has an interesting trailer. A very tonally different trailer. They clearly were like, I mean, I'm going to say clearly, they might not have had any impact with it. But whereas I think Black Ops 2, they were trying to do like, it feels like a reaction to the Black Ops 2 trailer. You know what I mean?
We also cannot go past Call of Duty Ghosts without bringing up Fish AI. That was
Fish AI. I was just about to say,
with this game and everything. So yeah, for what it was, it's I think fine. I definitely think of a lot of the modern Call of Duty games, it's on the weaker end. I think C is generous for Ghosts.
Yeah, I agree. I think C, because I think visually, actually, this game was the first Call of Duty game where it has the visual style of the Modern Warfare series, but it brings it to like a higher visual fidelity. Like the textures will look cooler, the animations are smoother. I believe this is the one where you could like there's like mounting, so like you can like jump over like mantling. I mean, and it's like supposed to be. Oh yeah, in the description, new Call of Duty Ghosts. Oh God, Call of Duty Ghosts takes the critically acclaimed franchise into the next generation. New world, new story, new next gen engine. Oh, ho, 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 ho. No kidding about that engine though. It does look different.
Yeah.
Trailer was pretty cool though. Actually, I will say. I had to revisit it. I don't know, man. That was kind of a cool trailer.
Yeah, it's kind of
Game
like,
unfortunately did not quite.
it's like some of these other ones too, where it's like there's moments, right? Like there's the rappelling down the glass skyscraper. There's like the first time we go to space in Call of Duty, outside of the one like little moment in Modern Warfare 2. So it's like there's moments in it for sure, but yeah, definitely on the weaker end, I think.
All right, now with a C locked in for Call of Duty Ghosts. Again, this is a stretch of games where I've played them too late, where I didn't play the multiplayer too much, or just didn't really fully experience them. But in 2014, we had a little bit of a difference to the formula, because where's Treyarch? Oh no, they want another year for their development. So in 2014, we get Call of Duty Advanced Warfare from Sledgehammer Games. And this game stars Troy Baker and Kevin Spacey in the lead and antagonistic roles. Protagonist and antagonistic roles. What do you think about this one? So this one really controversial because it's the first full future Call of Duty, and Ghost I think is also like future, but it's like an alternate, like, oh, the world's fucked up future. Advanced Warfare is the world. This is the future, and people have exosuits, and there are jetpacks, and all that stuff.
Yeah. I played this, I think, also last year, or the year before.
Oh, really?
Somewhat recently. Honestly, like, I have no experience with the multiplayer. I didn't play whatever. I think they had Exo Zombies in Advanced Warfare.
Exo Zombies, yeah.
Never played that, so I can't really speak to those. Strictly on the campaign, I honestly would probably put it at D tier. Like, I think it might be my least favorite outside of one other one that we're gonna get to. But
yeah,
like, the only thing of note that I can remember, and again, I played this kind of recently, the only thing that I can remember is obviously press F to pay respects. That's like the enduring legacy of Advanced Warfare, I feel like. And
yes,
it's like, yeah, Kevin Spacey's in it, but like, outside of that, like, I think there was a mission that was on like an aircraft carrier or something, but I could be wrong on that. Like, I really don't remember much about it. And it's okay. I remember one other thing. You're like flying like a weird jet thing through a bunch of canals, or you're like in a boat. I just remember in canals you're going through stuff. So I don't remember much about it. The near future cybernetic robot stuff, it doesn't really do anything for me personally. So it's, yeah, I would probably put it at D tier, honestly.
I'll give you D tier. I also don't remember the campaign very well. I played a little bit of the multiplayer, but it just didn't feel right to me. And again, this was a period of time where I attempted it. I gave it a shot, but and to Sledgehammer's credit, I think that there is a certain punchiness to the multiplayer in terms of like the actual hit, not the hit detection, but the way that the hits register and stuff. At least I remember it being cool. But yeah, the campaign, I really want to revisit it. And this is part of a larger thing that I think I've talked about with Nick, where I kind of want to revisit certain games I've only like barely remember playing and in the past, because I want to know if like now I can look at games in a critical way, and I want to know if it's me not remembering well, or if the game's just not being built in an interesting enough way to where that you can be remembered. Because again, Black Ops, there are moments, even though I was a kid when I first played it, there are moments from Black Ops or Black Ops 2 where I can specifically quote or reference, because they're just like it's well written, it's punchy, it has this very kind of strong kind of story to it that makes you care, or at the very least makes you pay attention. Advanced Warfare, I feel like I don't remember that doing it, back in the day. So another one maybe I'll revisit someday, but for now, I agree. I think a D tier is fine. I'm sure, and whenever you do tier lists like this, there's like fans that of like, you could say though, you could pick the worst Call of Duty game and you can be like, this is an F tier, and people are like, no way, it's my favorite.
Mhm.
Oh no. So all right, with that said, let's go to 2015 with Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Nick, I'll be honest. This was by the time I think similar to what you were kind of going through, probably Modern Warfare 3 time, but Black Ops 3, I essentially was like, okay, um, I moved on different, to different games. I was
Mhm.
playing like probably around this time, Uncharted 4. Yeah, 2015. I think it was around that time. So I wasn't playing Call of Duty actively, but that being said, this is the last. Well, this is the kind of end, I guess, of the Call of Duty Black Ops trilogy at the time, but it really wasn't that related. It takes place like 30 years or something in the future. So, much like its predecessor, Advanced Warfare, it also featured, I think exosuits, but at the very least, it had like jetpacks. I think exosuits were kind of maybe taken out, and it was kind of just cool looking armor suits for futuristic bad guys.
Right.
But this is a weird, this is a weird one because when I did get to play it, which was actually like probably like 2017 or 2017, I think is when I got around to it. I found that the campaign, again, Treyarch really goes for the wild swings, right? And I think this was a wild swing and unfortunately a miss because Black Ops 1 was like, okay, this really weird story. We play with the player, like the timeline, or like, we skip around. And then Black Ops 2 takes that further and it's like, okay, we're skipping around timeline, but how about instead of just going from the past to the past, we go to the future in the past. Black Ops 3 is like, all right, what if we fucking, mi- I don't even like try to the sixth sense this game.
Mhm.
I don't even fully. I've played through the story for Black Ops 3. I don't fully understand the story for Black Ops 3.
I
But from
remember
my
the same.
understanding,
Like I remember being confused.
I remember review like or not like reading up like Reddit threads, and essentially that like your character is actually dead. Like after the third mission, your character is actually dead, and you're being controlled, and so that's like a big twist that like they weren't very at least I don't remember. I didn't pick up on it just playing it, so it wasn't like a very easily expressed thing. You had to like look at the details. I think the people were like, yeah, if you look at the loading screen here, between this mission and this mission, you can see like it's saying it has like something that it pretty much indicates that the character is deceased and it's running a simulation of what. Yes, no, it's coming back to me now as I'm talking myself into it. I think that the second, again, feel free to correct me. I think the second half of the game happens before the first half. So like essentially the
I vaguely
Black like
remember that. Yeah.
the first three games and the first three missions, and then that's the end of the game. But then you go and like, you essentially boot back because you die to what happened before, and then you play through it. I think that is it. Something like that. Again, crazy. I don't think it worked very effectively, but
Nah.
cool in concept. I would say C at the very highest, but D if we're kind of keeping with the
I think C is good. I also played
multiplayer.
this.
I did play a little bit of, but it's not. It wasn't the
Yeah.
creme de la creme.
I didn't play a whole lot of multiplayer. Played the campaign. It was okay. This was Train Go Boom, right? That's what this one's from.
Train go boom.
Yeah, so there's that. It's funny how like there's like a meme for each one of these games. But I did play a little bit of zombies last year, in the pre Black Ops 6 kind of hype cycle.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, this is really cool because the zombies, it has a lot of the like later developments and like the nice engine and everything, but it still feels like classic zombies. And it has like there's the whole Zombies Chronicles that they put out, which is like remade versions of a bunch of classic maps. So like if you're looking to play like classic zombies, Black Ops 3 is kind of like the go-to, I feel like
Oh my
now.
gosh. Yes, yeah.
Um,
I'm watching gameplay, sorry, and I'm realizing I did play a little bit more of this multiplayer than I thought because I'm recognizing like every single map that they've shown and everything.
yeah,
Okay.
but for me, yeah, I wasn't playing this at launch. This was well after, so yeah, just kind
Yeah.
of meh for me.
I'll give it a C, I think, actually, as well, because this one was interesting because this one had like that hero shooter type of thing where like you can press L1 and R1 at certain times
Mm-hmm.
uh, to like activate a special power or like a special weapon. And this was also not kill streaks; it was score streaks, and yeah, it's all coming back to me. It's very interesting. I did play a little bit of this, but yeah, it's C tier. It's fine. It was entertaining enough, but it wasn't something that I remember being kind of blown away by. Even though it did have like pretty smooth like wall running and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
all right, C tier now. 2016, one of the most controversial Call of Duty games. And now that I'm saying that out loud, it's kind of crazy because this is another Infinity Ward game, and it went after the last game, which was at the time the most controversial Call of Duty game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is Infinite Warfare, as you can see right behind me. That you can only see a little bit of it, but this is actually the blueprint for the Raven, the ship that is from that your main character drives or uses in Infinite Warfare. The other side is a full poster, and actually behind the camera, I have a gigantic poster that's like bigger than this, I think. But it's double sided, and one side is Infinite Warfare, and the other side is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. So I got to put that up on the wall whenever I got time. But Nick,
Yeah,
Infinite Warfare, hit me with it because I know you have a soft spot for this one.
this is kind of an interesting one because, as you alluded to, very controversial. I think this one at the time, wasn't it like the most disliked video on YouTube was the trailer for this game?
Yeah.
This was the peak of people being tired of future Call of Duty. It's like, we don't want
I agree.
space stuff. And this was the furthest future. This was straight up sci-fi space Call of Duty.
Yeah, space travel and all that stuff.
But I played this in the lead up to Starfield when I was very in my space kind of like mode.
You were
and
preparing
sci-fi
for
mode.
Starfield with this? Oh, what an
Just
interesting.
in general, like I was like getting into like, space topics, and like I rewatched Interstellar for like, the first time in a while since like probably college when we all watched it together, and like
Yeah.
I was in that mode, right? And so I'd heard like all these kind of like middling and bad things about Infinite Warfare, so I'm like, okay, it's gonna be like another run-of-the-mill Call of Duty. And then I played the campaign and I was like, I actually really like it. Like it's the bombastic, over the top blockbuster, like you mentioned, Call of Duty, but set to space theming like all throughout. And so like there's this mission towards the beginning where you're like a ship gets sabotaged at this like academy graduation or something that you're attending, and it crashes into this bay on the planet that you're on. It might be Earth, but like, it crashes into this bay and you're running, and at a certain point, like it takes time, but this tidal wave comes in and it's just this massive wave from this massive capital ship that crashed into the water. There's a mission where you're like floating through an asteroid field to go sabotage a spaceship. There's this one part, I don't want to get into too much spoilers, but you're trying to get back to a ship, and you're like outside of the ship, and it blasts off into hyperspace or whatever, leaving you stranded in like the atmosphere of a planet and stuff. So there's some really cool, just like sci-fi cinematic kind of stuff that happens in the campaign. And it also, kind of like Black Ops 2, plays with the formula. There is like a galactic map essentially, and you can kind of choose what mission you want to do in which order. There's like dogfighting missions where you're flying around that little Raven thing that you were mentioning, and like on foot stuff. So I actually really enjoyed my time with it. I didn't play any multiplayer. I played a little bit of the zombies, like one match, so I have no real things to say on either of those. but purely on campaign alone, I would be in like C or B tier. Like I had a really fun time with it.
See, now we got to combine our metrics here because I did not play the multiplayer. Maybe I played the first mission, but I did play a little bit more of the multiplayer. Wait, I did not play the single player. Sorry, I did not play the campaign. I don't know if I mixed up my words. I did not play the campaign. I played maybe the first mission, but I did play the multiplayer quite a bit. This one, I think. Oh yeah, this one I was. I remember very clearly. At this time I wasn't buying Call of Duty games like like I used to, where I was like looking for them day one. But at this time, I worked at GameStop, and they actually they gave us a free copy of the Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. It was like a copy, like it was like this deluxe edition or whatever of Infinite Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember getting Infinite Warfare, playing the multiplayer, and being like, okay, interesting. It was fine. Again, I was maybe a little bit tired of the way that the future gameplay and stuff like that. And then I downloaded Modern Warfare Remastered and went, oh, this is what I'm talking about. And so I played a lot of that multiplayer. But yes, it's really conflicted. I would say this is a D tier, but I think your fondness for the campaign, I will accept a C tier. It did always look like a really interesting campaign. And again, I do want to play this one eventually.
And honestly,
Again,
I mean,
we'll
you know, we're talking about Activision here, but like a little scummy to be like, yeah, we're going to put Modern Warfare Remastered in there. That's the only way you're getting that is Infinite Warfare.
Yeah.
And then like a year
100%.
later, they're just like, actually, we lied. Here's Modern
20.
Warfare
Yeah, it's like
Remastered.
$20. Go ahead. Yeah, I agree. Now, Sledgehammer is back, baby, with World War II. I think it's so interesting because I feel like, there's this back and forth that Treyarch and Infinity Ward have, and then Sledgehammer is just like, "Yay, guys, how about this?" It just comes out and does their own thing. I kind of respect it. World War II happened earlier, but it came out in 2017. And it's exactly what it sounds. And on the books, it's essentially offering people what they were asking for pretty much 3 years back to back to back. Call of Duty was heading to the future 4 years if you include Ghosts. But Call of Duty was just kept going into the future, and the players were like, please, for the love of God, no. And so they're like, you know what? You want past? How about we go back to literally the Call of Duty 1 setting? We go to World War II, and yeah, it's such a unique experience. World War II, I played everything. I played the campaign, I played multiplayer, and the campaign is actually such it doesn't it both has the scope and scale of a Call of Duty campaign, but it doesn't feel like a Call of Duty campaign. There's a little bit more. I don't want to say successful. I don't know if it's entirely successful at it, but there's a lot more like humanizing of character. What I mean by that is like when you look at the series so far, right? And I'm gonna refer to the iconic games, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 1, etc.
Mm-hmm.
They really try to make these like memorable characters. Captain Price has this distinct voice, distinct look. Same thing with like Reznov or Woods or Hudson. All these characters or obviously Mason, the main character. But the World War II cast is like they feel like they're of the time period. They're not like trying to be larger than life. There's definitely stereotypical kind of caricatures in a way, but they're not trying to quote the do some really weird quote and sell you a kind of this idea of what's happening. It really feels like this is war, and it's a very unique approach to a campaign or in a campaign for a series that is usually like who care like make those characters look cool. I mean, that's the important part type of thing.
Yeah, World War II. This was the first spark of being like, I haven't played Call of Duty in half a decade. Like, they're finally getting away from the future stuff. It's like, I'm kind of interested. I don't think I played it at launch, but I have since played the zombies, the multiplayer, and the campaign. Campaign, it's like I remember there's a couple of cool missions here and there, but I don't remember much about like the general story of the game. The zombies, I remember it feeling like watered down Treyarch, essentially. Like
Yes, I agree.
it's not quite to the same level, but it does have like bits and pieces here. They kind of lean more in the horror angle than the like wacky angle that zombies typically has. And then the multiplayer, I remember having fun with, but not getting like overly invested in. I think World War II, like I could see a low B or a high C. I would probably land on C specifically for me, but
Yeah. I will say a C. World War II is also the Call of Duty. Again, Sledgehammer, to their credit, they were trying different things. It did have this thing in multiplayer called Headquarters, where essentially like instead of just going from like being in a lobby where you're staring at the menu screen, it's like a physical place and you could walk around in
right.
it. And
I
like if you
remember
opened
that.
if you opened chests, like it would open in front of you and other people can like see the chest opening, I believe, as well. So yeah, I did remember playing it, but it wasn't the multiplayer maps I did not like. And so it led to me not playing the multiplayer overall. I played this in like 2019 or 2020, something like that. So in 2020, probably. I remember Nick, I was streaming it, and I think Nick watched, like tagged along for like a little bit. But I was playing through
Yeah.
it in veteran difficulty, and that was an experience. But yes, I'd be willing to say C, and I think that's what I've come to realize is that a Call of Duty game really has to let you down in some major way to be a D, because at the very least, because of how again, Call of Duty is no surprise, but they're working with budgets that no other franchise can work with, and the result is, at the very least, even if it's not like a very like, oh, I cried when watching it type of thing, it's like, oh yeah, you cannot get that kind of experience anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
for a while you thought maybe Battlefield could give it a go, but we all know how that's going currently. All right, so in 2018, Treyarch returns with Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and this. Remember what I was saying about shit in the bed? I don't think I used those words, but I have a disdain for Black Ops 4. In fact, we're getting into a territory now. I reviewed Black Ops 4
Oh, we're in this era now.
on Respawn Station, and so I'll read my final thoughts on it after. But Nick, I want you to give your thoughts on it first.
Played it last year. That's kind of what kickstarted my Call of Duty like revisit, because I was getting the itch for the multiplayer, and this game obviously is mostly multiplayer. It was fine. I didn't love the hero shooter angle that it kind of took. I feel like, again, it goes along with Treyarch and being experimental, but I really don't think that was the direction Call of Duty should have went in. The kill streaks are like fine. The maps, again, like it visually looks good and everything. It feels good to shoot virtual guns and everything, but yeah, even after this point, like the little bit of zombies that I played, it wasn't hitting the same. They kind of changed and made zombies a lot more complex. With like the Easter eggs were just way more involved. The mechanics involved were way more weird and out there, and it was like kind of microtransaction-y with certain things. So for me personally, like this would probably be like a C or a D tier. I didn't quite hate it as much to say D definitively, but certainly like a C tier, and like no campaign. It's like I really don't think a Call of Duty game should be shipping without a campaign if they're asking money for it.
I agree, and so here's what I said back in 2021. Apparently, when I played through this game, and I, by the way, I gave this game the full treatment, because especially if I review things, I'm trying to be very thorough. So I played through the multiplayer, I played through the campaign. Sorry, I played through the zombies. So here it is. Quote, like I said at the start, I've been sitting on this article for a while now because I don't know how to end it. I cannot deny that Black Ops 4 does a lot right in terms of delivering a polished game, but it doesn't feel like a full package. Specialist HQ delivers a disappointingly small dose of the story that doesn't live up to the wild rides of the Black Ops series of the past. Multiplayer is boots on the ground, but the lack of balance for the specialists makes it an often frustrating affair. Battle Royale fits nicely within the Call of Duty gameplay, and with a lack of specialist bonuses, Blackout remains the most balanced multiplayer experience offered in the game, given you aren't given scumbags for teammates. I believe I said that because I think there's team killing in this game. Like you can shoot your own teammate and kill him.
I think there is.
And I experienced that. And despite my lack of nostalgia for Call of Duty Zombies, I still enjoy Black Ops 4 Zombies. I can confidently say that this is a wildly complex Easter eggs that will definitely keep fans entertained. At the end of the day, though, I still think Black Ops 4 was a missed opportunity, considering how many old maps are in the Black Ops 4 roster, both in multiplayer and scattered across the map in Blackout. I would have much rather preferred a Black Ops Greatest Hits, but as it stands now, Black Ops 4 feels less like a sequel and more like a tribute to better times. So, I gave it a 6 out of 10, which is decent, but I would give it a D. Actually, no, 6 out of 10. I think that's a D, right?
If you're
Isn't
using
60 a D?
grade scale, yeah.
All right, a D it is. I'm locking it in. All right, next up, we are going forward. Would you believe it, by another year?
We're in the return
2019.
arc now. This
This
is where
it happens. Nick, go ahead. I'll let you introduce
where
this sequence.
they got me back in. This is where Infinity Ward I guess they rehired some people. I feel like I remember reading that, but they are back on the scene with a reimagining of Modern Warfare and kind of really going back to that core kind of identity, the like kind of I'm not going to say realistic, but like, you know, I remember they were hyping up like how close quarters like some of the environments were, and you have missions like Clean House, you have like obviously the return of the campaign after Black Ops 4, but also just like iconic moments happening in the campaign itself and like interesting gameplay ideas coming about, another new engine, so they kind of changed it up again tech-wise, and this was what won me back. And I honestly think Modern Warfare 2019, like, while I'm not like itching to go replay it or anything, I do think it's one of the better games in the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I did not go to this immediately, but I did go. I did return to it later on, and I do agree. It does definitely have some of the. It reaches for different peaks in the Call of Duty series, and as you were kind of saying, things looked bleak. You know, not just because Black Ops 4's motto, I think, is like the future is black or whatever, but I think the streak of Ghost, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare really whittled down the population of who was playing this game. And so by Black Ops 4, you really only get like when World War II was like, okay, another Call of Duty. This wasn't even a mainline one. I think there was some of that going for it. Black Ops 4 was good because it was Treyarch, but again, it was missing fundamental parts of the package that made it Black Ops. And so fans were really conflicted. And then at a time where you thought Call of Duty was going down the hill, Modern Warfare revitalizes this series. And I was going to say, I don't think there has been a singular mission that has had such a big impact on a video game as Clean House does on Modern Warfare. That that mission is, I mean, it is very, very responsible for the success of this game, just because of the fact of how, you know, how much people talked about it. It was sort of like, you know, No Russian, right, in Modern Warfare 2, where it's like, oh shit, did you play this? Like, did you experience this gameplay? Like, that mission? Oh my god! Like, it had this kind of talk around it that even No Russian didn't really sell copies like Modern Warfare was selling copies, or Clean House was selling copies for Modern Warfare. So this is I would say this is an A tier at the very minimum.
Yeah.
But
I think A tier probably feels right. I don't think it surpasses like our nostalgia pilled Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2 original. But yeah, I do think it's a very solid blockbuster action shooter. And again, like there's more memorable moments throughout this campaign than several of the last ones we've talked about. Like one that always sticks in my head that I particularly like from 2019 is the one where you're trying to defend a building when the power's out or whatever, and you see the cars in the distance pull up, people are coming through this field, and then they shoot the flares up and it just lights up and you see all the enemies in the field. Like that's a really cool moment that like is very interactive and tactile like that.
Yes, and the end of the campaign is so sick because it's like it's almost like they're like purposefully playing into the like MCU, like I'm putting together a team type of thing,
right?
But it's the way it's like well, yeah, what's this task for call? And it's like 1-for-1 or whatever. Like it's just it's a cool ending to the campaign.
Good multiplayer too. Also, had a lot of fun with that.
Speaking of good multiplayer. In 2020, we had the release of 2 Call of Duty games. There's Warzone, which was the all-multiplayer Battle Royale mode that kind of ditches the Blackout and just says, hey, here's a free game that you can play individually just by itself. And so 2020, I think we'll quickly cover this. I think this is another huge reason why Call of Duty is currently as big as it is. I think Warzone brought in a huge number of players that either left or just wouldn't have made the purchase in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's free to play, there's that audience. A lot of that audience is still playing. And then bringing Verdansk back, which was the original map from 2020 earlier this year, really the game saw a huge resurgence again, no pun intended. And so I would say I'm conflicted. I would say it's a B tier, but
yeah, I think B tier.
Its impact is greater than I think it's just a B tier, but it is, I think, what it offers and the way it offers it is B tier. But
that feels right. Like I get what you mean by it having like a big impact, and it is a big part of why Call of Duty kind of bounced back in the way that it had.
That revenue, that yearly revenue.
It is just like the Battle Royale mode though, like if you're playing it. So like as like a standalone game, it's like I hope you like that, and I hope you like the one map that you're playing on. Granted, it's a big map, there's a lot to do on it, but
they have, to their credit, done a lot more with it too. I mean, like there's so there is the map that you can play with, and then they do interesting things with the map too, which I kind of respect in terms of like certain like kind of game announcements have been done there. There's also a certain level of interactivity in terms of like you'll be looting a chest and all of a sudden you'll find a key card and it's like, oh wait, I can go across the map and there's a place I can go and this key card opens up a locker for me. Or you can essentially, if you can try to do a small bank heist, stuff like that. That's it's kind of unique in a way. But then on top of that, they have resurgence mode, which is essentially like they drop you into Alcatraz, like a kind of a smaller map that has like respawns and stuff. So it's not like a typical battle royale, but it is still like your team is fighting for the last man standing. So Warzone does things, but I just don't think it's overall like the definitive Call of Duty experience, and I think that alone kind of tops it off a B tier. But in 2020, we also had Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, a weird one because I played the multiplayer and then I watched like I was working and I watched someone else play the campaign because I wasn't too invested myself, and it's a weird one. What do you think?
It's very okay. It's I played a good bit of the multiplayer. Like that was also the other game with Black Ops 4 that I was kind of bouncing between. And so like I think the like first prestige or whatever in Cold War's multiplayer. it just kind of feels like Modern Warfare 2019 though. Like very similar tech base for that, a little bit more movement mechanics and stuff like that, but don't really remember much maps except for a boat map that I played on a lot. The campaign,
I remember there's a night. Is this the one with there's like a nightclub mission, or it was like at night? I remember like there's like some Miami nights. I think was like one of the maps. But yeah,
yes.
Miami maybe is the name of the game. Yeah.
The campaign's like it has some cool moments here and there, but like it feels like they were trying to kind of recapture a Black Ops 1 kind of thing, but I don't think it worked as well.
Well, I was gonna say actually, there's a moment in Black Ops Cold War campaign where I thought it was really cool, but then it turns out that that it's actually like World War II does a similar sequence where you're not using your gun and you have to like it's all like like espionage. But you were telling me last year during season 0 that like is inspired by a previous Call of Duty game too. Like
yeah, they do it in the first game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, some points for kind of re-executing that idea, but it also loses a little bit of the luster because it's like, oh, it was the coolest part, but I guess you're just kind of playing on old tricks.
Yeah.
So,
and the zombies, I played a little bit. The zombies also is in that like new era of zombies, and it's just not really my thing. I would say maybe a B. Like, it's still like good overall. Like, obviously, like the production value is high, and like it's an entertaining game. I just don't think it really has as much memorability factor that a lot of the other games have.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say a C tier just because I don't find it overly memorable, but I will say that you are correct. The game visually looks really cool. Obviously, I mean, since Modern Warfare, they've all looked really nice, but there's a certain quality that like I think they still do, and maybe it's in my head, but I feel like they really still attempt to make Black Ops look different for Modern Warfare. You know what I mean?
For
I think maybe we're now getting maybe a little bit more of the crossover because like there's Warzone, which is definitely built on like the assets of Modern Warfare, but then the movement mechanics are all from the Treyarch like Omni movement stuff, and so yeah. Anyway, next up we have Call of Duty Vanguard. Came out in 2021, again from Sledgehammer Games, I believe. Yeah, I believe Sledgehammer Games is this one. Look, I own this one. It's on my shelf. I meant to play it, but I unfortunately have not even touched it. So I have not played multiplayer or campaign or I don't know. Does it have zombies? I haven't played zombies.
I believe it does have zombies.
Oh, it does. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, and zombies is actually developed just straight up by Treyarch. I see.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't think I played the zombies in Vanguard. Multiplayer, I think I played a match or two. It's, again, it feels exactly like Modern Warfare and Black Ops, but with World War II weapons. The campaign is fine. Again, they were trying to do like the World War II kind of thing again. It seemed like Sledgehammer was kind of carving that out for themselves for a bit there. But like the one thing that sticks out to me about the campaign, again, it visually looks good. There's some cool moments and some cool missions. Like I remember this one where you're in a fighter plane and doing like dive bombing runs on like ships at sea. That one's kind of cool. But they reuse the mission from Modern Warfare where you play as Farah when she's a kid, and there's the soldier in the house, and it's kind of stalking you around. And it was like a really tense, cool mission in Modern Warfare. They recycle the same gameplay, but it's with 2 full-grown adults, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like there's no way that this full-grown character that I'm playing should be struggling this much to take down a regular old soldier. Like, especially as the person you're playing as is like, hyped up as this like mythical figure for like that of the Russian army and stuff. So it's just like I remember playing it and I'm just like, this makes absolutely no sense. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So I don't have much to say about it, but it does say so the description says dogfight over the Pacific, airdrop over France, defend Stalingrad with a sniper's precision and blast through advancing forces in North Africa. So those are the 4 different kind of
Yeah,
faces for the.
you
the
have
game.
like a different character for each of those, and they kind of form like a team at one point. So like it's
putting together a team.
yeah, it's very okay. I'd probably give it like a C tier. Like it's again, it has that same Modern Warfare Black Ops kind of production value, but just like not that crazy.
Sure. I do want to get to this one as well because I don't know. I feel like just for the campaign alone, I'm curious just what Sledgehammer did because they really just went like World War II Vanguard and same setting but like different approach for both.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now here we get to some weird places. All right, this brings us to 2022, and essentially, this is where the timelines get all screwy because, and we can maybe dive into one and the other or talk about them both at the same time. But 2022, Infinity Ward releases Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And this is a direct sequel to the 2019's called their huge, massive hit, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the reboot. And it continues the story. It goes for a lot of the things that I don't know. For me, it feels like Modern Warfare 2 is trying to recapture what the first one did, and I don't think I felt that between the original COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2. The original Modern Warfare 2. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like Modern Warfare 2, the original, came out and it was like, oh, this just feels like another story. Like they're telling another story, and it's this crazy kind of over the top action sequence, like bombastic, as we were kind of saying as well. Whereas Modern Warfare 2 is like, okay, we really somehow did it the last time.
Mm-hmm.
How about we try to do that again? And so it feels like it's trying to play like by this like playbook that makes it feel a little bit less interesting or cool, at least for me. But I did play a lot of the multiplayer for this one, and where I missed the multiplayer train on Modern Warfare because I didn't get it immediately. Modern Warfare 2, I got it immediately, and I played quite a bit of multiplayer for this one, and I think it stands as a very standard kind of Call of Duty experience in terms of like clean multiplayer. There's really not a lot of like weird shit going on in terms of like, there's no specialist stuff. There's no like you're using modern weapons, and it's just enough kind of realism and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's probably like a B tier for me. Like the campaign, I remember playing it and I'm like having a lot of fun, and I remember the variety specifically. It's like every single mission you're doing something different, or they have some different like mechanic to it. Like I remember the one where you're like roped up and fall out of a helicopter, and so it's like upside down for an entire sequence. There's like one mission where you're driving cars along a highway in a giant chase for a long time. There's like the survival horror, like you're dropped in with no weapons kind of mission. So I remember the variety being really cool. I remember the story not really making a whole lot of sense, or like not really hitting the same highs as the previous Modern Warfare. I do have to give a shout out though. It does have this one clip with Graves or whatever his name is, where they successfully pull off a mission, and he goes, "That's what I'm talking about, Shadows. You know I love that shit." And that is a clip that I keep in my back pocket and put in reply gifs and stuff all the time. So I do have to give them a little bit of credit for that. But yeah, I think it's exactly how you said it. It's like the quintessential like good Call of Duty, just not amazing.
Yeah. Yes. And then we come to 2023 with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I believe this one was worked on with Sledgehammer. Like I think Sledgehammer led the production on this one. And guys, I mean, look, I've said a lot about this. All right, you can read it on respawnstation.com. I have a whole article called "The Call of Duty Problem," which is pretty much directly talking about Modern Warfare 3. And then I have a follow-up discussion that we had actually on season 0 of the podcast called "Why Modern Warfare 3 was disappointing." And so overall, I this is a very just conflicted game because here I'll quote myself here quickly because just to get over with. The first point of disappointment is the unusual content pairing. Activision has seemingly taken a page out of the Nintendo DS naming scheme and released Modern Warfare 3, not to be confused with Modern Warfare 3, which has maps from Modern Warfare 2, not to be confused with Modern Warfare 2, the other one. Although it does include weapons from the latter. It does also have some original maps in circulation too, which are decent, although I have no immediate favorites yet. And admittedly, it is cool to see the old maps with new fidelity, but it does bring me to my second point, which is Modern Warfare 3 is a very fast-paced game, even compared to Modern Warfare, the last one, Modern Warfare 2 from 2022. It tries to combine the tactical movement of the Modern Warfare series and the dives and slides of Treyarch, and the result is a game that can feel too fast to keep up with. It's so fast-paced, in fact, that I would cross paths with an enemy, and by the time we both reacted, we'd be halfway across the hallway. A few rounds of Team Deathmatch did go get me up to speed, but the real problem comes up when you throw that kind of movement into maps that were over a decade old and designed for new, slower, for much slower games. This causes maps to feel too chaotic and not just on shipment like usual. So there you go. That's a brief summary of what I felt like. I think this was a huge disappointment for me. Modern Warfare 3 is a D, at least for me. But Nick, let's hear your.
This is where kind of at the inverse point of the list. This is the part where I have not played anything past Modern Warfare 2.
Sure.
Modern Warfare 3 I've not played yet. I've heard plenty from you and from other people about how this is a weird cobbled together kind of game. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it, but like it's...
We didn't even talk about the campaign being essentially like Warzone missions redone. Like, there's no real campaign here. And again, what's with the series being like, yeah, the campaign's really worked out for us in the past, but that must be not what people are playing this for.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's very weird. But then,
all right, so we're locking in for D tier. And then we get to last year, 2024, with Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And this is going to be a weird one because I have not played the campaign for this. I'm now currently working my way toward it by, Black Ops 1 first, Black Ops 2, and then I'll go to Black Ops 6 because that's the timeline. Maybe after I finish Black Ops 7, I'll play Black Ops 3 again. But campaign thoughts aside, because I don't really have any. Multiplayer, I was originally very adverse to this. I played the beta for this game, for Black Ops 6, and I was like, the Omni move in this thing is just too much. I thought I was not feeling it. And then I played it in Warzone, and it took me like a match or two, but now I'm like, holy shit, this movement is kind of fucking crazy. When you go back to any other first-person shooter after Black Ops 6, the Omni movement direction, because I played this mainly in Warzone, but I also went back and I played through the multiplayer for Black Ops 6 as well. A little bit. I played some of the maps. I'm just not a huge fan of the maps in general. I don't find them to be very interesting maps, so that's why I just keep going back to Warzone. Because that movement, I really cannot tell you until you get used to it and you actually give it a go. It's crazy how actually intuitive it is because you can do movements that you really can't in any other first-person shooter, at least that I know. Again, especially at this kind of level of quality, because you can walk backwards, but your gun can still be ready. And when you can dive to the side, and it makes certain encounters really inherently cool. It doesn't have slow-mo, but it makes you sort of get that Max Payne effect of you can literally dive across. And I've done that before. I'll be in Warzone or something, and I'll damage a player, and I know that they're about to heal or shield up, so I just run and I dive to the side and I pop a few shots off and seal the deal. This movement mechanic really they made me take a huge 180 on it. But that being said, I have to play the campaign to really give it a solid score, and so maybe. I don't know what I'd say. I'm between a B and a C. If the campaign's good, it'd be a B. If it's not, it'd be a C. But the C would literally just be for the fact that the mechanically the game's cool because the multiplayer wasn't I wasn't a huge fan of the multiplayer maps or anything like that. Like I said, Zombies actually, you know what? Zombies was fun. So that maybe I'll say a B for the fact that Zombies it did get me to play a few rounds of Zombies, but.
From what I know of the campaign, I know that there's a mission where you do a heist in a casino, So I think that would also bump
Okay.
me up to B tier whenever I do
Yeah,
get
yeah,
around to
that's
playing
fair.
it. Based purely on that.
Yeah. Well, and ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to 2025. In just a few months, Treyarch will be releasing Call of Duty Black Ops 7, literally the sequel to Black Ops 6. We'll have to come back at the end of this year. Again, stay tuned to the podcast, subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. And somewhere along the way, we'll have reviews for Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, eventually Black Ops 6 campaign. And maybe I'll update the score if, one way or another, for sure, for the tier list. And then, at the end of the year, we'll have thoughts on Black Ops 7 and, fill in the blank and decide where it goes. Very interesting spread here, but to quickly run through it, B, C, C, S, A, S, S, B, S, C, D, C, 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 D, A, B, B, C, B, D, B. Yeah, you can really.
Yeah, we got
that's
like
a great
nice
graph.
little curve. We start pretty high, and then we go down, and then we go kind of into the middle there.
Yeah. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is our hefty discussion about Call of Duty, ranking through all of them across both of us. We've pretty much played all of them at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to
Surprisingly.
revisiting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to revisiting the ones that I haven't experienced or want to re-experience. Nick, any final thoughts about these bad boys?
Nah, I think that this more than fit the bill for a main topic that we needed tonight. So.
I did not expect this to have so much to say about it. I was like, oh, we'll be a quick episode. Nope, not even close.
It might be the longest.
It might be. I mean, that makes sense. We somewhere deep within our souls, we were corrupted by Call of Duty. We can't help. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Respawn Station podcast. I already said all the usual stuff like subscribe and like and all that. So as always, until next time, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.